Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Honestly, that's the way that I decided to just take over admin rights of this channel and kick Andreas out. I was just sick of, his nonsense. So,
it gets a little old.
Well, welcome to a new episode of Think Tank. Andreas is no longer going to be part of Think Tank. You guys can figure out the drama behind the scenes or whatever. I don't really care, but let's just have a conversation.
He might jump in later. Let's hope he does. Let's be honest.
He might. If he wasn't too offended by what we were getting into a little bit earlier. Right. Which let me bring it back up, right? Am I the only one that has seen the Man Must Burn HBO documentary series so far?
Is that about Burning Man?
It's about Burning Man. I think it's like a 3-part series about Burning Man. So this is the first time that I ever really got a little bit of more respect. I've had some friends tell me, I know you guys have talked about it before too, but it was blowing my mind. And Andreas was just like, yeah, of course. What did you think? It's run by a bunch of West Coast liberals or whatever. Yeah. But the documentary, it takes place, and I think they filmed it over the course of 5 years. And right when they started, it was, I think, 2019 or 2020. And they had already canceled it the year before because of the pandemic. And the first episode starts about, are we going to do it again this year? And it was funny because I'm watching with my girlfriend and she was like, this is Burning Man. Like they're on a Zoom call with 100 people and like HR is there. And there's people talking about like, well, I don't know about the ROI for this particular vector of the business aspect. And it was like the most anti-Burning Man-esque thing. But I guess from what you guys have been telling me, like that's not anti-Burning Man. That is Burning Man because Burning Man's
it's in the spirit of the thing. I mean, even like I went 8 years in a row, and the first year that I went, the first night I was there, somebody set the man on fire. And like people were riding around on bikes like, what does this mean? And it was like during a full lunar eclipse. And there was really this sense that it's like, well, this makes sense. Like the eclipse is happening. Like this is the ritual. And it was just like, it was an arson. He got tackled next to my friend. I shouldn't say his name, I guess. But yeah, he got tackled next to him. He said, when this guy got tackled who set the man on fire, he just started name dropping like crazy and like, you don't understand, like I'm supposed to do this. And in certain places, like if somebody talked like that, you'd think, oh, they're a nut. I mean, the guy was a nut. I think he became more of a nut because of what happened to him there. Like I don't think he was that, it's weird, I don't think he was that crazy before that, but like he went kind of crazy because he was just like, what the hell? Like his relationship to Burning Man was like, of course you set the man on fire yourself during the full lunar eclipse before the burn has even really started, like, but yeah, I don't know. I watched Burning Man go through quite a transition. The first year that I went, I think I shared this before, but like I watched somebody run into the fire. Like as soon as like the man dropped and then everyone rushed it, my shoes melted. Like I was like running on like hot coals with rubber shoes, like going, like it was crazy. But like I watched somebody as we were like stampeding it, like actually run into the fire, and I guess he died. And somebody else that same year hung themselves behind our camp, and people thought it was an art installation, and it turned out it was actually, but statistically, you have less deaths at Burning Man occur than like in just about anywhere else for a city that size, because literally build a city. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. What did the documentary say?
I'm only halfway through part 2. I fall asleep easily in things that don't have like Michael Bay style explosions, like every 10 minutes basically. But it was talking about how in the, was it 2021 or 2022? 2021. But they were like, you know what? We're going to put our efforts into next year's Burning Man. This is the Burning Man project, the corporation speaking. And then it goes into how this Facebook group called Plan B like sort of became a new unofficial version of Burning Man, and that the CEO in charge of Burning Man, this lady, was kind of, I can't tell if it was like a wink and a nudge, but it was almost like a wink wink, like, so we're not going to be throwing Burning Man, but if anyone shows up, be safe. So it was kind of like, go ahead and still do the thing, but we can't be involved from a business standpoint. But which blew my mind is that they still like the CEO still showed up, still had a talk, like everything kind of operated the way that it normally did. And it shows her having this Q&A with a like big audience. Dude, the only question on my mind, and they don't show it, why didn't someone stand up and be like, hey, if we're still having Burning Man right now, like, what do we need you for? And what do we need the 10,000 employees and like all these different jobs? And like, what is that even for if we're already doing this on our own? No one asked that question. And then she goes away. And then it blew my mind even more that right next to Black Rock City, there's a private area that the Burning Man project owns. And then they're on their own land. They have their own Burning Man that is different than the Burning Man.
Right. There's also 4th of July and, a lot of AK-47s. Historically, Burning Man used to have a lot of AK-47s where they'd have the drive-by shooting range. And like I have friends that did it where they're just like, they get on the back of a truck and they're just going, and they're like shooting at targets in the desert while they're just, they're flooring it. Like I have a friend who did it when he was like 15 years old. Like that was the first
awesome.
time he shot a gun. Like that was like, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. But like, they can't do that kind of thing at regular Burning Man. There used to be now, but there used to be like a lot of like creepy stuff. Like my friend was describing his first day at Burning Man. He woke up to moans and he opened up his tent and he had no idea what it was. His friends took him out to the middle of the desert. He wakes up to moans outside of his tent that he had set up at night, and it's just like all these women with strap-on dildos like taking turns with a blow-up doll of a woman, and they're just like super into it, but they're outside. He woke up to that, so he was like, what is that sound? And then that's what it was. And then like he went for a walk and he witnessed these people that were like, there's like rows of people wearing paper bags over their heads with like holes cut out, and they're like all rocking back and forth, and they're chanting Latin together. Like they all know the words. And they had a goat that was already dead, and they like pulled it apart and like put its blood all over their face. There's like a guy with like piercings where they're attaching hooks with chains, like Hellraiser style, like, but he was like into it or whatever. It's just like the craziest stuff. And I have a old friend of mine who felt like a calling like to Burning Man, like he was supposed to, like he got a message in an ayahuasca ceremony, like he's supposed to come here to like help relinquish the darkness from what Burning Man was, because it could be something so much so much better. And so yeah, there's a lot of weirdness there.
You get out of your tent and you just see like a bunch of women wearing dildos and chanting in Latin with bags over their head.
Two separate things. That was later in the day that he saw all of that. So
you're like, what the hell are you guys doing? And like, the aristocrats. No,
the aristocrats, right? But then it was the same day. Like this all happened in the same day for him, and then he did the drive-by shooting range, and it's like, but I'm talking like early days of Burning Man, and he was like, I think he was 14, 15 years old, something like that. And but yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's hard for me to imagine going to Burning Man without having my camp and like building, like we built like one of the top 3 to 5 biggest sound camps at Burning Man every year. And so I would show up like a week early, I'd leave like a week late, and that was like the only way I've experienced it. I'm sure if I went and I didn't do that, I could still just like have a great time, but like it's hard for me to imagine going there and not having something that I'm helping to build and then watching people experience it, what I contributed to, like having a real artistic contribution to the thing is like a huge part of it for me. So,
I think it's interesting that like what Thomas was saying about the Plan B, because that's like an abortion drug, and how Burning Man always takes place on Labor Day weekend. And like labor is like a form of giving birth. And like Labor Day is always during the time of Virgo. And so I feel like there's something there. Like we're born into this world of labor, and like the deserts, like we were doing on that. The deserts are known as being places of like restless, wandering spirits. So there's like all these kind of like unclean spirits that dwell in desert places. And like we're born into this lake, like this literal lake of fire. Like I kind of feel like a Burning Man is like a human being, like that was birthed into this world.
Well,
and we burn our calories, we burn for desires, we burn for anger, and
right. Well, it feels like it's like Jim Morrison's place, man, because like the whole thing is set up like a Dionysian theater would be. Like if you look at like an aerial view of Burning Man, it looks like the exact same layout. If you look at like the layout of like where people would go to see Greek tragedy, and so it's
got like an amphitheater layout.
Yeah, and then that kind of relates to like Bohemian Grove. Like this is like the regular person's Bohemian Grove that doesn't belong to the elite. But then like there was a shift that happened at Burning Man. I remember the moment where I looked at my phone and I had bars. And I was like, oh my God, I can go like on the internet too. Like I was just like, this is crazy. Because for me, like my first, most Burning Man experiences were like, I really felt like I was truly like out there in the wilderness. And as soon as I looked at my phone and I saw bars, it stopped feeling that way. And for me, that was like the fundamental shift. What's
like
that?
There was showing that there's certain, I guess, like villages or neighborhoods within Black Rock that if somebody that like they have almost like a neighborhood watch within these little areas, and if they see you on your phone, it's like, hey, not in this village, bud. Like take that over there with all those other idiots. Like we don't use phones here.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, there's like a thing that's like that. I think you should leave, where the guy's like, I was listening to this new song by this band I'd never heard before, and they said there are no rules. Is that true? And it's like there's like a weird thing with like Burning Man, like no rules, and then it's like, well, there's actually more and more rules. A big turning point for Burning Man was actually the day that Larry Harvey, the founder of Burning Man, was like had to respond to a dispute that was happening over an art car that was for this camp called Jiffy Lube, and it was two men having homosexual intercourse, like as they were like moving. Hello. Talking about,
no one told me. You guys were like, we're gonna do it, then we weren't gonna do it. I was like,
I tried to call you, man, but we're here. You're here. You're here. Good.
Well, it's good to see you, dude. I couldn't interrupt to just say this. I just saw Sharknado, and then I saw Sharknado 2, and then I watched Sharknado 3.
Of course.
And we had already, David and I had watched a shark movie that was about, I think, virginity and maternity. And this one was, I mean, the Sharknado movies are about Pizzagate and about global warming. And the third Sharknado has Anthony Weiner in it. And it has the mayor.
No, does it really? Is it really?
It really does. It actually has Ann Coulter as herself, and they ask Ann Coulter, like, "What do you think about all the sharks?" Like, well, I feel for the sharks, but they're destroying our schools, they're destroying our government buildings, and it's like about refugee crises. The second one, they skateboard down the faces of George Washington as the White House is flooding and the Congress building is flooding. There's so much to Sharknado 2. And Sharknado 3 with David Hasselhoff. I still haven't seen 4 and 5 yet, but they might be.
Is he dressed as a lifeguard in that? Is he like?
He's an astronaut, and he has to use NASA to deal with sharks in space. But there's so much to it. It actually
space is more explored than our oceans. So there you go.
I'm excited.
But here, we were discussing Burning Man,
Fair.
And the shifts that Burning Man has gone through. And I was thinking to myself while we were doing so, wow, if Andreas is here, I'm sure he'd bring up BLM. And by BLM, I mean the Bureau of Land Management. Bureau, Land Management.
Yeah.
And
Bureau
so,
of Land Management matters.
Yeah, it does. And so I was just saying, like, there was a few points where I was like, Burning Man has really shifted. One of those was when I looked at myself when I saw bars, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm really away from everything now, and I'm not. As soon as that happens, people can share videos, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's like what happens at Burning Man stays at Burning Man ceased to be so much of a rule, right? But there was a point where Larry Harvey had to respond to these people who had a homosexual art car where it was two men, and it was kind of cartoony, but it's for Jiffy Lube, and they were like doing their thing on the art car as it moved. It was like, would make their hinges go, and it's like, okay, these guys, and people were really offended by it at Burning Man
because it had a corporate logo.
No, not because of the corporate logo, because Jiffy Lube, it was like a play on it,
Yeah,
but that wasn't their issue. Their issue was that this is recorded, so you can go find it. The dispute itself, people record. It was a long exchange, and eventually Larry Harvey shows up after these people are arguing. There's people like protesting this art car, going, "There's children that show up here." Because people do bring their kids to Burning Man. So like, this is unacceptable. That was the argument at the time.
Get that sex out of here. All right, burn the guy.
And Larry Harvey made the call that, okay, it can be here, but it can't be out on the open playa, because you have to get like a permit from the Department of Mutant Vehicles, right? So they were like, and it classified as a mutant vehicle. He said, you can keep it at your camp. You can't bring it out on the playa. And all these people booed, and it was this whole thing. But that was the first time that rules were really asserted beyond what was the original baseline rules, which is, radical self-expression, radical self-reliance. They love the term radical, by the way. It's like, is it radical self-reliance? I don't know. I've known people that show up naked with nothing, and they prove that they can get by. I know people that showed up on
there was a
bike.
part in the series where they're talking to the CEO. Okay, her name's like, I'm just gonna make up a name, but like Susan or something. But the CEO that was in charge at that time, and very stark contrast, because you could tell the people that were like, Burning Man should be run by the burners, and like, we don't need all this corpo speak. But she was pushing, like, they don't realize how important these billionaires are, and that the billionaires are just as much of part of Burning Man as anyone else. And if it weren't for these billionaires, and if they don't feel welcomed, then Burning Man ceases to exist. And then you had like a whole other camp.
Get this idea that Burning Man's for poor people. It's not.
Right.
First off, Burning Man's always been for rich, upper middle class, at least, or trust fund kids from Santa Cruz and San Francisco. Be honest,
yes,
there are totally other places for poor people. You could go to the Pyramid Lake. There's Rainbow Gathering. There are actually efficient places for poor people to go. Burning Man was always $300 or $400 to keep out the riffraff, and there's no water, so you have to bring your own supplies.
Not originally. It didn't cost any money originally. I mean, you could show up there and just be there. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
but like since 1994.
So at a certain point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I looked it up. Right now, the lowest amount you can use to get in is like $600 or something.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have theoretically in 1994 gone out with a tribe. So okay, for real, the original burning of this dude's ex-girlfriend in effigy statue thing, that's
on the beach in San Francisco.
That's so removed from what Burning Man's become since Industrial Lights and Magic. And
before you came here, I was talking about a mutual friend of ours and his experience with the women with the strap-on dildos, with the blow-up doll, and then like the weird pagan stuff. What tripped him out more than anything wasn't just that they were doing this thing with the goat and the chains and the body piercings and all this weird stuff. It was that they all knew the Latin, and it was a big group of people. He was like, how do this many people wearing paper bags over their heads all know the Latin and to be chanting it in unison? Like, obviously this isn't just a Burning Man thing for these folks. Like,
I feel like also the first reference to Burning Man is on the on contemporary television is season 2, episode 1 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where the gypsy teacher has just come back from Burning Man and is talking about how she was performing weird cyber pagan rituals at Burning Man. Like, it's introduced to the public that way, generally.
Do you remember when Malcolm in the Middle went to Burning Man?
The Frankie Muniz kid? Frankie Muniz is in Sharknado 2 or 3. I forget which one. But he actually has to use his head to save the world. Yeah,
No, the
it
whole
all comes
family.
back.
Like it was an episode of Malcolm in the Middle where the whole family went to Burning Man.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
There's also a Reno 911 where they go to bust people at Burning Man for drugs, but they don't actually make it there, and they're all like in their costumes ahead of time, and it's yeah.
I met a girl who worked at Burning Man, and she told me a lot about this. This is an article that I found years prior to this, but it was 2008. This article, I remember, Dinosaur Girls, Candy Girls, and the Trinity, Voices of Taiwanese Club Drug Users. And this, I felt like, was a model for how they're dealing with a lot of people at these raves and places where drugs are handed out around the world. And basically, if you're pretty, they're giving you good drugs. And if you're ugly, they're giving you bad drugs. And it's a sort of like Darwinian evolution.
This is how I got hooked on salvia. Someone was like, hey, Uggo, get over here. Try this new drug out.
Thomas, you're a pretty girl.
All the pretty girls got ecstasy. I got
this
salvia.
Also made me realize the next cool movie after Sharknado that we would make would be like Ketamine Catfish, and it wouldn't be a horror. It would be like a Stanley Kubrick kind of thing where like he's opening K-hole portals and tumbling through space-time, messing up the timeline, and all of a sudden Hitler's wearing pink, and Obama's married to a transgender woman or something unusual.
Let's not get too crazy. And the next they're gonna start playing golf on the moon or something.
But
right?
the point is that this Candy Girl thing, I met a girl who was
on
working at Burning Man and talked about how this is what was happening to people who were working there. She was saying that people working there, like they would volunteer, they get involved with the thing, and they basically would choose whether or not to like let you become an angel-headed hipster driven to madness, right? Or if they would keep you kind of safe. And that seems to be happening a lot to people at Burning Man.
So
there's like eugenics going on.
There's like eugenics at Burning Man. There you go.
Yeah. There was this thing that happened like a couple years ago where it rained a bit and there was a bit of a mud flood.
That's part of it.
This is an ancient lake. Ride the snake to the lake, the ancient lake. So you're in an ancient lake bed and it's raining, and which totally happens. Like it's happened while I've been there. I wasn't there a couple years ago when this happened, but there was a warning that came out from Black Rock City, management, where they were just basically like, we do not advise that anybody drive right now. And a lot of people took that as like, oh man, they're going to trap us in here or something. And they like freaked out. And just about everybody who tried to drive away got stuck in the mud, and anybody who, has ever been stuck in the mud in Alabama knows, you push on the gas, one tire spins, the other tire does nothing, but anyway, they got stuck in the mud and they had to get towed out. And like there was one year, like long ago, before there was cell phone usage or anything, where almost everybody had to get towed out over rain, and they didn't even move. But these idiots, they were like, oh, screw that, we're gonna get out of here, and they all got stuck. There was like rows of cars that were just like, they seeped out because you're moving the tires into the mud, and you're risking getting stuck by that attempt. So it's just really kind of, I don't know, it's almost directly poetic of like, you tried to, you didn't wait it out, you didn't have faith, and now you're in the mud. Like it almost felt like a parable that Jesus would say or something. It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Remember the double rainbow, and when I was
all
stuck
the
in
way
Burning Man, and there's the dude crying while he's watching it happen. Like that's real.
Right. Yeah.
That
well,
was
it
the
just
Burning
was
Man
after the double rainbow that when that guy went viral, who was actually my a friend of a friend, that guy who's like had that hit. I think it was on a Hawaiian island or something.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful. He's like having, but the thing is my friend told me, she's like, dude, that guy is like that about everything. Like he's being so emotional about the rainbow, but he's like that all the time. Like he'll just get super emotional about little, whatever. So
leave Brittany alone. Like he's always like that. Don't worry.
Right. That guy. Well, I wonder how he's doing. That guy. He became a meme. That must be such a trip for him, because he was dead serious.
I think her now. I think that was a trip for her.
For Brittany.
No, for whoever had the outburst.
That guy,
Well, now a girl. If you want to be respectful of their,
I have no idea.
pronouns.
You can be a feminine. You'd have to ask the person if they, how they identify. I don't know. I mean, just because he's a little femmy doesn't mean, unless if you know something else that I don't.
No, I'm saying legitimately is now a female.
Oh, you know this? Okay.
The double rainbow?
Yeah.
The double rainbow guy?
No, that guy's dead. That guy died.
No, the leave Britney alone guy.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the first double rainbow in my mind.
Okay.
Penn and Teller, Chris Jericho, Mark Rubio, Anthony Weiner, Ann Coulter. Anthony Weiner plays the NASA director.
Back in Sharknado.
They all contributed to the same Sharknado sequel?
They're all in it. It's freaking nuts, man. Jerry Springer.
Okay.
The
Are
mayor
we
of
talking
New
about
York.
clips of these people, or they actually
They are
did it for
actors.
the movie?
They are acting in this movie. Ann Coulter says, "Don't do that." And then the guy's like, "There's not enough time, Mrs. Vice President." She's the vice president. So they grab a picture of George Washington, and then they stand on it, and they skate down over the heads of Ann Coulter, skating down the heads of sharks. Right?
And this is supposed to be Somalians, as I understand, the sharks in the ocean.
There's definitely, like, she says, I feel for the sharks, but they're like destroying our schools and they're using our, resources and everything like that.
And they keep going to Minneapolis for some reason, those damn sharks.
Oh, dude. And the second one starts out with him on a plane with the guy from Airplane flying the airplane. And then the main character looks out his window and he sees a shark on the wing of the plane.
You say the guy from Airplane, what do you mean? Price from Stalag 17? Are you talking about the
guy from the movie Airplane?
Which, like the pilot?
Leslie Nielsen?
I mean,
who were we talking about?
The pilot.
The pilot. Wasn't... So you're talking which pilot? The guy who had the war trauma, who had to come in and he had a drinking problem? The guy with the drinking problem. Okay, gotcha.
Airplane 1977.
When you were talking about the sharks that go to Minneapolis, were you also referring to that when that Renee Good got shot right in front of a shark when the ICE cops shot her?
What do you mean she got shot in front of a shark, like an aquarium?
Oh, you mean Airport 77? I'm sorry,
no, is that wrong? I thought it was filmed in Airplane, the movie. Airplane, the movie. There it is. Yeah, the one with Leslie Nielsen.
Okay.
Starring Robert Hayes. Yeah, Robert Hayes. He's the pilot in Sharknado 2.
And in Airplane.
Does he have a drinking problem in Sharknado 2?
He does, and he talks about how he's wondering if they ordered the chicken or the fish. Like, it's straight up almost a sequel to Airplane.
Okay, so sharks look like flying airplanes?
There are sharks in the tornado. Sharknado. So there's a dude, and it's like in Twilight Zone. He's looking out the window and he sees a shark on the wing of the plane. He's like, there's a shark on the wing of this plane. It's like the Gremlins thing. Like, the shark is just this sort of socially acceptable symbol to mask all of the problems in our world that are being displayed in the Sharknado series. Global warming, global swarming, I think is the title of one of them, global swarming. And there's like, weather modification. There's all this stuff with space and NASA, and Anthony Weiner's running the NASA thing and telling them what to do and how to save the world. And it's like the whole thing is just so many more levels than just shark. Shark is the thing that people won't ask questions if you have an answer supplied. What's the problem here? Oh, shark. Okay, then they can just watch this movie. But when you see what the sharks are doing, the sharks are tainting our water supply. They're immigrating into places they don't belong. They're taking over patriotic desert like towns in Texas. Like they're in the sky, they're in the air, they're everywhere. It's like there's a lot more to Sharknado. I know we've done this, but I'm convinced it's important. Why would they put Anthony Weiner in it? That's just so weird.
Yeah, well, planes are kind of phallic. So do you think sharks are? I don't know. Somehow sharks to me are related to like money too, because of loan sharks and stuff.
True.
There's a financial aspect to sharks.
Mm-hmm. And card sharks.
I mean, I also saw that Predator movie recently that we tried to watch. Dave and I tried to watch Badlands on the Disney when it came out, and we thought it was like because it had subtitles burned in and it was in the wrong language. But no, that's the movie, because the movie starts out with like they're speaking Klingon, they're speaking their alien language, and the Yautja, I think, is the name of their people, and then there's subtitles burned in. But then you meet like robots and they work together. But it's interesting because Alien, this Geigerian alien, is very much like we've talked about like forced insemination, right? Like there's this very violent thing that covers this orifice, this open sore orifice in your mouth, and it impregnates you. And so Alien's always talking about abortion, whereas the Predator series, Yautjas wear a mask that covers their vaginal faces, where the alien's a very phallic, skulled being. The Predator is the femininity that's protecting itself constantly. And it won't, this is the big point of this movie, is that on Earth, the alpha is the wolf, often the maternal wolf, because she doesn't just kill everything, she protects, and protection is a quality or an attribute that is valuable that they're trying to assimilate into their tribe. So there's femininity thing, because the entire movie, his mouth is uncovered. He's lost his mouth. So he's constantly showing his vaginal what's it called? Dentata, vagina dentata. Right. But he is the vagina, and he is the vagina protecting itself and protecting others.
I feel like with Alien, it's not only that it's simply like an allegory for pregnancy. I feel like with Alien, you're kind of looking at an artistic communication of basically the psychoanalysis of a mother. So it's how her kind of like dream symbolism would be interpreting this experience on another level, which is why it's such body horror. Like Alien's very relatable to like The Substance in a way, as far as like this is like getting into the psychology of the woman and like what her deeper process is. So like, in other words, the end of Alien, you could interpret it either way, that this is aborting the mission, right? Which seems so obvious, but like when the alien like leaves the ship, there's that screech that's so much like a baby screaming, it's just like, it sounds like a baby. It's like, and it's like, it feels like hopes and fears, because, what you fear, you also hope for, and what you hope for, you also fear, like on different ways, depending, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that it's what you're allowing into you, but that's why Predator is this defensive femininity versus this masculine impregnation of the alien, right? Because constantly they're careful about what they're letting in. There's more, I think, to Predator relationship now because of, Disney controlling it. It's obviously made it more feminine in some ways, like the movie Prey on, but it still seems like it's always there, that I'm
surprised that there's not more crossover. Like with Marvel movies or whatever, they can have endless crossover within the Marvel universe, but like with Aliens versus Predator, it's one of those rare examples where like the comic book gave us this, like, the video games and the films and all of that.
I think it's because it wasn't, I forget, but I feel like Predator was Orion Films before Fox.
I think that they should just combine sequels. If you're going to do all these,
were allowed to. That was one of the things in like the 80s and 90s. The comics were allowed to have all sorts of franchise crossovers that no other medium. Remember, it was also RoboCop versus Terminator was like another big one that couldn't.
Right, but it wasn't like
in the theater.
How far you could go with that? Because I'm just like, I don't understand what, like, if you're going to do this many remakes and you're going to do this many sequels, why, if you're doing a sequel, you couldn't be like, you know what, this is the sequel to, like oh, what was the one where I was like, Get Shorty and Swingers could totally have like a mutual sequel, because they're both LA, they both are 90s movies, they took place at the same time. Like, they did a really terrible sequel to Get Shorty. You know what I mean? It's just like, it was pretty cringe. It was pretty bad. I think it was called Get Cool or something like that. And like for Chili Palmer or whatever. And it was like, why couldn't they just have those characters interact with the characters from Swingers? So this is just one example. I'm just spitballing here, but it's like there's this potential of like what, like, I think I've discussed that a specific example before, so I guess it's not quite spitballing, but I'm just saying, like, you could do stuff like those mashups. Like, I'm surprised that there's not more of them, where it's just like, why not? These movies are associated, like take E.T. and Goonies or something, and you're like, oh, well, these characters will
I think that's kind of why Sharknado works. Like, people love Twister, people love Jaws. You just force them together,
smoosh them,
Yeah. I mean, you could do that better with like Get Shorty and Lost Boys. You should take things like, the way a corporation would do it is take two properties that were successful but had completely inextricably mutually exclusive audiences, and then force them to get it, like a
Right.
Disney
You'll get the
princess
fans from
movie
this
in Star
and the
Wars.
fans from this, and they'll come together. And if you did a good job with it, it'd be a hit. You know.
Yeah. I think we're getting there. I mean, that's kind of what they did with Alien versus Predator to begin with, and I feel like that's what they're doing. Generally, like Spider-Man's interesting because it's Disney owned at this point, but they've already been stuck with they purchased it in a contract. They'd already, like, Marvel had already had a contract with Sony, so Disney's not making Spider-Man movies. They can use him like in the background because they're selling toys, and they're allowing Sony to use Disney characters in the background because they're selling toys. So it's kind of your comic book argument, but it also means that Spider-Man is distinctively not a Disney character. He's a Sony
This
character.
is sort of the genesis of like Guardians of the Galaxy. This is the reason that they went down that angle too. This is get in the weeds a little bit, but like in Orlando, right? They've got Universal, which had Islands of Adventure, which was Marvel before Disney owned portions of Marvel. So now there's like this weird limbo state where if you're actively using a certain property, like Universal has the Doctor Doom ride, and as long as they have a Doctor Doom ride, Disney's not allowed to have a Doctor Doom ride. Universal also has classic 90s Cyclops and Wolverine and like the yellow suit and all this. And I think that there's like iterations of that are not allowed to be used by Disney. So it's not the Marvel universe, it's the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which goes with Disney, I believe. And then like Universal has the non-MC. It's so weird, but at the same time, I feel like it's appropriate because Marvel also had the weird like this is when I fell off, the multi-dimensional thing where there's like 80 different planets with Miles Morales, and there's like a black Wolverine somewhere too. And then DC did it with the New 52, I think, where now it's like, oh well, there's 52 Flashes out in the universe. So right. I mean, it all gets into that, and I think on a long enough trajectory, like on this timeline, like DC and MCU, it's all the same thing. The same way that you go to a restaurant and you're like, hey, I'll get a Coke, and they're like, all we got is Pepsi, and like most people are just like, yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're getting better with that. I don't know. I'm old now. I drink a Coke Zero, and I wasn't even upset about it, so I'm broken. But someone just asked if the Disney made Eyes Wide Shut, or at least the sequel. I feel like Disney did that. That's what The Rescuers is, right? Isn't that kind of the sequel to Eyes Wide Shut? Because you start out with this, like, Eyes Wide Shut ends with this little girl getting herself kidnapped, right? It's the parents are talking and they're self-absorbed. And then, Tom Cruise's daughter disappears at the end of the movie with the guys from the beginning of the party scene. And what is Rescuers, right? It's totally about that same girl, even to the point of the parents kind of reminding me. I mean, okay, the mustache, but otherwise, I can totally see that as Tom Cruise, maybe a couple years later.
Rescuers Down Under too is basically the same plot line where a kid gets trafficked over the internet.
It's pretty great. Down
Under. This is symbolic. The underworld.
Or worse for that poor kid, that poor boy, Duck Strangelove. It would be DuckTales Strangelove. That's Disney could do any of these to be better. I think they should make every movie for kids. We were watching Top Cat and Flintstones, which are both remakes of 50s shows. Like Phil Silver's show is about PTSD soldiers who survive Stalag 17, basically, right? They're like the Hogan's Heroes back home in New York, and they just drink all the time because there's nothing left to do with their lives, right? That became Top Cat, about stray cats, And then Flintstones, you got a dude who's constantly promising in The Honeymooners to beat up his wife. He's like, I swear to God, next time I hit you, Alice, you're going to fly. You're going to fly to the moon. That's how hard I'm going to hit. This is his catchphrase, right? And to turn this like abusive relationship into like the family modeling show, the Flintstones.
One of these days, Alice, straight through the looking glass.
Not bad. All right.
Well, I remember there being an episode of Honeymooners that was like totally about aliens completely, and now I'm looking at it and I'm like, I guess the closest is that suit. I thought that there was like Ralph Cramden actually interacted with an alien or something. I don't know.
I don't remember this one, but I imagine he had to, because why would Flintstones have the tiny?
This Jackie Gleason claimed to have had like some kind of, like, he said that Nixon showed him a crashed UFO or something. Like, what was it? And then he modeled his house after the UFO because he's just so into it. And I thought that there was more of that with the Honeymooners, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I know like there's a conversation about that Joe Rogan has where they talk about his there's the house right there, Jackie Gleason's spaceship house. That's Jackie Gleason's house. Let me see if I can zoom in on it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so dude was totally obsessed with aliens.
But I mean, but with Pink Floyd's Metal, you have, so the B side of Metal is Echoes, which is 23 minutes and 26 seconds long, which is the exact same length of Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite, from the title Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite to written and directed by Stanley Kubrick. But the first song on the album is One of These Days, and Jackie Gleason's connection to extraterrestrials feels like that's an appropriate title for the first song on the album if you're doing a treatment that somehow, you know, Pink Floyd, like, because there's that whole thing where Pink Floyd was going to be in A Clockwork Orange for the original soundtrack, but the story goes that they didn't want to break up the suits like Kubrick wanted for Adam Hart Mother, so then you just see Adam Hart Mother among the records opposite the Beatles in the record store, with the underground section being 2001: A Space Odyssey in the front, you know, when he gets the record that he ordered, you know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, One of These Days actually could be taken to have to do with extraterrestrials. I watched Disclosure last night, Disclosure Day, the new Spielberg movie. I'd heard so much just trash talking about it online, and I get what people are saying, that they're like, oh, this is so out of touch because the whole thing is kind of centered around, you know, getting the disclosure documents, which are really just video. If we show them on the news, then everyone's mind will be blown. But an actual alien, I should shut up. I don't want to spoil the whole movie. I guess I'm doing that. But people are doing that all over online. And the thing that I extrapolated after watching it is I think most of the comments that I've seen about it are from people that didn't watch the movie. Because where they go with it completely, it sounds either that they walked out or that they just took the cliff notes and said that this is what I think of this. Because really, you could take the whole movie, or the ultimate end of the movie, of just how naive media people are, because they all think that dropping this bombshell, everyone will freaking believe it. But I feel, my personal feeling, I don't think I'm alone with this, is a genuine UFO could land at the White House and almost no one would believe it. You know what I mean? Like, it could, if it actually happened. So it's like the footage that they show in the movie just looks like Alien Autopsy from Fox in the late 90s or whenever that was. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh, if they saw this, it'd freak out. And like, just looks like special effects movie magic. So they're like, oh, we've run it through, it's not AI. It's like, okay, well, is it CGI? Like, are you, what, you know, like, I don't know. But yeah, it's a lot of it may not be that Spielberg is naive necessarily, although he probably is, but it could be that it's a commentary on how naive this class of people are.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of forgivable in a way.
And people won't see what they believe, and
you're not selling it, by the way. This is not selling.
I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just saying I watched the movie last night, and I'm comparing what I watched to a lot of the rhetoric that I saw about it, and the specific criticisms that I saw.
I think the point of Spielberg is, like, he already kind of sucks. He's not a great director, but like that's partially his skill, is that he didn't go to film school, so he's a plebeian. But also he's Jewish. He's Jewish, so he's not completely empty-headed. Like, he has some symbolism there, and he got deeper and deeper into that until he got to do a Kubrick movie, and that's when he lost his mind. And now everything he does, he's a wannabe Kubrick, and he's not doing a great job.
There is something to be said about that. And I would argue that he's, in all likelihood, probably a little weird and conflicted about what he did with Kubrick's original vision. Because he wasn't true to it. And I know that he knows that. I know that I can look at him, like the way he would speak about Kubrick, where he's like calling him so paranoid, you know, and just like as a put down, kind of, you know, like a joking put down. You could see they weren't friends in the usual sense. Like, there was indeed a mutual respect as directors. I do believe that. But I think that Spielberg's, like, what he projects about their friendship just it's like Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk. It's
Well,
like, yeah,
it's
you're
like
frenemies.
friendship's a weird word for it. It reminds me of like what Jordan Maxwell used to talk about, like the elite class and the pleb class. It was like his analogy was that if you are opposing basketball players, you're on rival teams, you're not friends, but you both end up noticing each other in a bar. You probably end up having a drink with your rival because they're at least in the same level as you are, versus having a drink with one of your fans. Because like one of your fans is not really someone that can relate to you on any level, and you'd rather be with someone you can relate to. So like some people get chunked into being like friends just because they happen to be in the same sphere, not because they actually are amicable with each other.
Yeah, it's just a weird dynamic. Like he sends him a fax machine to talk on a special line. Like he's like, I don't want to talk to you on a normal phone line. Why? Because they're pitching ideas that they don't want to leak, even if it's to whoever, the government or whatever. It's like, this is just, I want a secure line. I think that's a reasonable idea, but he's just like, he was faxing me in the middle of the night and I had to remove the whole thing or whatever. It's like, why did you put it in your bedroom? Don't you live in a big house? Steve? Just like everything about it just sounds like judgmental.
But if we're talking Kubrick and paranoia, I believe this is maybe a John Ronson thing, but that he would not use planes at a certain point, and he would listen to air traffic controllers for near misses and make little notes, be like, yep, that's why I don't fly on planes. Like there was another close
was
call
that in Kubrick's boxes? I can't remember. Is that what you're saying? It was in Kubrick's boxes?
It was in one of these by like non official biographies, but it talked about how he was so paranoid about flying, and he would just use every instance to sort of back up his rationale.
That was because of Richie Valens. He was really hip to that. La Bamba was one of his favorite movies, so that makes sense.
Well, are we allowed to talk about adrenochrome still?
Adrenochrome?
So here's your guys' chance to sway me away. If you want to talk me out of it, here's your chance.
I mean, isn't it a completely legal substance that doesn't necessarily isn't there just like a lot of hype around it? What is the deal? Isn't that there
was 3 questions in there. Is it legal? Yes. Everything that I can tell, it is legal. Is there hype around it? Yes, which does not invalidate anything. So I don't think that. Here's the crazy part: is there are no human trials published outside of, I think, 1958 was the very last one about what adrenochrome can do, like the external substance introduced to a person. Everything beyond that has not been anything outside of like a blood coagulant.
It's interesting that it's such a sensationalized thing because of what? Hunter S. Thompson? Is that mainly?
I think everyone wants the secret of youth, and so the idea that celebrities could have stayed young for years after that movie, Death Becomes Her, so honestly, like but that
never came up. The adrenochrome connection to Death Becomes Her didn't come up until like 2016, 2017.
No,
that wasn't
when Death Becomes Her came out. I was probably 10, and I had seen Fear and Loathing, and it was like, obviously it's a pulp connection. Like,
I don't know, maybe in your brain I believe that,
like,
but
adrenochrome is not even that weird of a thing to be brought up all the time.
But to connect the Fear and Loathing, there's only one source for this stuff, from the adrenaline gland of a living human body. Like, to say that this drug that he took that gave him this experience, that this would somehow be associated with the youth drug in Death Becomes Her. I'm sorry.
I know the connection. Fear and Loathing, it's not necessarily clear that it's making them like younger or anything like that. Maybe you had a point there, but adrenochrome is always associated with this idea that it's like from younger bodies, from younger, healthier people. And I think everything was about. I mean, Hocus Pocus, even like there's all these ideas as a child that you have of people stealing your youth. I feel like adrenochrome is the materialist explanation for that.
I thought that was placenta, foreskin, and stem cells. I don't know.
But what you guys are describing is the modern version of adrenochrome. Like, hold on, let me just do a quick little background, because I need to just make like little nitpick details that actually matter. The movie of Fear and Loathing, the whole thing is that it's the strongest drug that Johnny Depp / Hunter S. Thompson's ever come across. So that's how it's like, oh wow, this guy that's done every drug in the book, and he's saying that this is the most potent thing on the planet. He would have been true if that was Salvarin A, by the way, if it was Salvia. But when he says that, that's when people are like, oh, that must be really serious. In the book, which doesn't make it into the movie, they actually specify that it has to come from humans, and like a fresh pineal or a fresh adrenal gland, and that there's only one place that normally can get fresh adrenal glands, and that's these Satanists. So there's like a satanic connection.
They said all of that in the movie. He goes, Satanism.
But when you guys are talking about the fountain of youth and like the youthful aspect, this is when adrenochrome takes on a secular version of blood libel, because every single claim made against adrenochrome from QAnon 2016 on, that now it's exactly line for line blood libel. You know what I mean? Like all of the same sort of magical supernatural properties are now being ascribed to a chemical. And what makes it, I think, like a novelty and like the hype is that you don't have to care about the Bible or the Torah or blood libel to now be fascinated about this like secular chemical. And it brings along all this backstory to it where you're like, oh, I guess it must be true. So many people believe that, like,
it looks like that's the psyop, is to just get people to entertain it in that way, because now they're susceptible to all kinds of shit. No, I mean, it seems like a psyop, that treatment of it. If it is a psyop, what's the motivation? That would be a really obvious motivation. I don't really know. But
what do you mean? What's the motivation for what?
Well, if you're trying to kind of like, because what I'm seeing is a lot of people who were never into, a lot of boomers too, who were never into conspiracy theory, just like go headline and sinker, just like now
because they want to save the children.
Because they, or what? That's one of the reasons. That
you don't want to save the children, David.
Right. So that's
exactly. Not all of them.
Exactly. So it's this or that. So you either believe what I'm saying, or you're all these terrible things, bad faith, whatever, you know. But I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, to steel man this thing, like, if there was a like kind of perverse incentive behind this, like, why go there with this thing? Like, I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of how, like, I would argue that it's very possible that there's some weird revealing things in, like, the Sumerian tablets, for example, or all the writing that the Catholic Church has that isn't available to the public. And wouldn't it make sense that you could like basically commission somebody like Zecharia Sitchin to just take it in this way and make it sensationalize it so much that when anyone brings it up, they'll immediately dismiss it? And that's where Sitchin feels like a psyop to me, is because there probably really is some revealing things, or not probably, I would assert that there's very revealing things in what we can extrapolate from those ancient Sumerian texts, because Sumer is a huge area, and in the ancient world, and what we can take from the things that we have beliefs around, like from antiquity, and then, like, it could be threatening to that. So it would make sense for them to be like, let's get ahead of this. So it's like something like adrenochrome. It's like there's weird stuff going on. People are taking things and doing things to elongate their lives, and their youthful quality or whatever. Like, I don't know, I'm sure Mel Brooks is probably normal lifestyle, whatever, but it's like, dude, that guy, he's been on Celebrity Death Pool for like how many years? 20, including the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger is obviously people. I found in a Playboy from like the late 90s where they were just like, how is this guy still alive? It's 2026. Keith Richards, he's touring. He just did a tour, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger. And so, but anyway, no, I don't know. I'm saying, like, I could see there being an agenda there with, like, that, for people to react to what you referred to as a blood libel type idea for the elite class. That what are they doing? Because I think they're doing something, man. But I think it involves other things.
Well, I think it's not. I don't think it's a blood libel type idea. I think it is literally the exact same version. It's just that libel started in like the 12th or the 13th century, and now this is just the 21st century version of it. So of course it has to be a chemical. It can't be the same exact way that Bram Stoker's Dracula was about blood transfusion. It was about like this new emerging technology, a new spin on. Okay, here's how it. And like it seems old now because blood transfusion was new when Bram Stoker wrote his version of it, right? But prior to that, it was all like the guy sneaks in your window at night and like bites you on the neck. Like, nah, he would just like break into a hospital and just kind of like, steal the equipment.
Hey, could you remove the comments from over half your face? Just because aren't they on the side anyway, and people can see them? Like, you have
Right, you're out of
comments,
here,
thank you. Yeah,
comments.
sorry. Yeah, you just have
Except
you
for
know such
later
a
when
nice
they watch
looking
this
face. It's
thing
a
not
shame
live.
to have it covered up.
The point, the long point being though, is that I'm not going to live stream it. I don't think, because I think every single platform will probably have a reason to like take it down. But I might have found a source, and unless someone wants to try and talk me out of it, I'm looking at you, Nicole, and Nicole.
Don't do it, bro, because at your age, like if it hurts your heart, like it can be dangerous to take.
I don't think that's accurate. I understand that it has my. Go ahead.
Use adrenochrome responsibly.
They're not going to have like a protocol. They're like, if no one's doing this drugs, there's no like research on it. Then like if you
that's not helping in that. Now we're just thinking about how shitty the protocols are, and like what Fauci's protocol. Like,
well, here's an example. There's not even a recorded boiling, like vaporization point for adrenochrome, because it's never been studied in any of these sort of like areas. So there's no like human recommended dose. There's no suggested or not suggested.
Just type in Florida man adrenochrome, and you'll be able to find more information from Paranoid American.
It's not true. Well, yeah, no, that will be true.
That's the future. You're predicting.
Like, what about on a spiritual level, Thomas? I know I'm the odd man out here in this group, but like I'm against drugs altogether. I feel like drugs have contributed to the whole fucking mess of a matrix that we live in. Like all of our minds.
I'm inclined to agree a little more than I was when I was a teenager. I think that a lot of the time when I was young, I thought, man, all these old dudes who spend 40 years learning Kundalini to meditate so that their bodies are too old by the time their minds are ready to do astral projection. How silly is that when, I'm young and strong now, I could just take this drug that like science has created. Now I can go to those astral realms. It'll be easy. And you don't really think about like your mind is not strong just because your body is, and it will destroy young people. Like it destroys new minds. That's the plan of, some of these realms, not just the realms, but like you're saying, actually just chemicals themselves. Some of them are cool. Like I know, David, you can talk like about being respectful in the temple. Like if you're respectful in the temple, maybe the temple treats you better. But I think a lot of people are buying salvia at a gas station. I think a lot of people are not.
Don't bring salvia into this. You absolutely do not.
There's nothing wrong with salvia. It's buying it at a gas station.
No, I vehemently disagree, because that's where I got it. I got it at a gas station.
That's not what it's for. It
is what it's for.
Like,
I think it's for like finding the grandmother energy while you're in a sweat lodge with the Sioux. But hey, white folks with plastic bags over their heads with aerosol paint cans and paint fumes, and there's your culture, and I respect your culture. Florida man.
I mean, it's like their own spiritual like frequency and resonance, and so if you like open yourself up to certain drugs, and like I just feel like it's dangerous spiritually. Like you will allow entities into you, and maybe they're not going to leave. Or like, I mean, the most evil people that we like see in the Matrix are the ones that were doing the adrenochrome. Like those are like the villains of the show. Why would you want to like? Why would you even want to try it? Or like,
because it's not the drug that would make them evil. And I need to point out that everyone right now, that's all four of us and anyone listening or watching, you've got adrenochrome in your blood system right now. It's a natural byproduct. So I mean,
but if you have enough that demons want to pick up the crystals in your radio bloodstream so they can possess your body, and then
to be fair, there could be chicken nugget demons out there that are like
whenever they feel like it, even when you don't add extra crystals to your blood, then you got like a possession problem, and that's my concern usually.
There's a reason why in The Shining it's spirits, like he's it's connected with amethyst. Amethyst would be protection for temperance, that you have temperance, and you use the stone. That's how the tradition of amethyst was used, but it's like, give anything for a drink, even my goddamn soul. And so it's symbolic that he's taking in. It's even a bit more than symbolic, because it's literally
would it make any of you, or specifically Anna, would it make you feel better if I had Orthodox and Catholic holy water like on tap, just in case something got out of control, that I could do like a quick chaser?
No, I want you to have the living water of Christ in you, and that's it. I don't want you to take it.
But didn't Jesus take that drug that made it so that, he would appear dead and they would take him down and he could be like wake up again 3 days later?
Have you ever like
hoping for?
What about lab mice? Have you done any lab mice? Or had any studies on them yet?
The studies have been done. There's like over 28 animals. In fact, Remember, I'm sure you guys have seen the orb weaver spiders that they gave LSD to, and it's like, look at
Yeah.
it doing these crazy.
It was in my textbook one year, and it was removed the next.
Dude,
And
if
so I was like,
you
what was
look at
that?
the original study and turn the page, the very next page is adrenochrome. They give adrenochrome to the spiders. They've been given adrenochrome spiders, pigeons, rats, fish,
How their webs
humans
been out on
for a long time, and I'm just going to be following the exact same protocol.
how
You're
the
just
webs
gonna
turn
do
out
it
on
all on your
adrenochrome.
own.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to do it all on my own.
What are you looking to fill? What is empty in your heart right now, or in your soul that you're trying to fill with this adrenochrome? Let's talk about that.
Well, I think it's more that when I try and find any sort of actual user reports on this, or like serious research done, none of it's serious. It's all just people spreading fiction, and they saw Fear and Loathing one time when they were 14, and they've never changed their mind that they actually think that there's something evil possessed in just a mundane chemical. So the main thing is just to be like, look, this is a regular chemical, and yeah, maybe it does make you go absolutely insane, and I don't recommend it for anyone else. But I would say the same with salvia. People tell me the exact same thing, where like every time you're going to this realm and you talk to Lady Salvia and you go through the door and you have the breakthrough, that you've opened yourself up to entities. But what if there's demons out there that just really like Mountain Dew Code Red, and every time you pop open a Mountain Dew Code Red, it's like, now you've just made yourself a target, the same way that I guess like Parsons was trying to attract
Non-satanic demons are a
desert,
Muslim talking
Moonchild.
point, Thomas.
What's that?
Non-satanic demons are a Muslim talking point.
Oh, yeah.
Just be
Yeah,
careful, Florida man.
I don't
That's all I'm
disagree.
saying. All right.
When are you thinking about doing this? Like, you haven't received it yet, right?
No, I'm like 90% sure they're going to cancel the order, but if the 10% of my hopeful part, I don't know. I think that I got to do it like almost as soon as it arrives, because it's not very stable. It does not have a very long shelf life whatsoever.
I'm putting you on the prayer list at church.
I'm just
I appreciate
concerned
it. Yeah,
because it can't be good for your body to have
I'll take
like
all the prayers.
a rapid heart rate. Like stress isn't good for your body.
But see, but you're saying that without even understanding what the suggested dosage would even be versus how much adrenochrome would be in your
what
system at any
dosage of
point.
methamphetamine is acceptable to you? You know, I feel like accelerating your body's not always a good idea.
Well, let me just cite the old adage of Paracelsus, right? Which is the dose is the poison, or the poison is the dose.
What if you get addicted? What if it's like a heroin and then like life is never the same after you don't
Which I
have it?
imagine it would be if you like had all the more colors, you know. the
It's
vibrancy.
possible, although I had a raging cocaine addiction for about 4.5 years that I was able to kick, and I feel if I was able to do that, I could probably kick adrenochrome.
He's lying.
Famous last words, right?
Okay, so in Sharknado 2,
heroin.
Kelly Osbourne gets her head cut off right at the same scene as Will Wheaton gets his head cut off. So there's this whole thing here. I feel like, you know, it's like and Nicole Wordsmith's thing talking about Oz and Ozempic. Like the beginning of the movie is like Kelly Osbourne loses her head and then they're flying into Oz on this plane. But I wanted to talk a bit about the Ozempic thing because you put this thing out, and it's kind of interesting that we're associating Ozempic with not being able to see, right? You know, maybe can you read that, or should I read it for you? Is it visible enough on your little screen?
Yeah, so it's being reported on because it's supposedly causing blindness, like sudden blindness in people or whatever, right? It's related to vision. And so I was connecting that to like how we've had all of these like Oz type people that keep getting recycled in this matrix right now. Like we have the Osbournes who have made like the most drastic transformations.
Born in Oz.
Yeah.
Right. Also keep in mind that the Blizzard of Oz and Mr. Crowley. Just saying.
This makes me for some
Oz
reason think of Shallow Hal a little bit too, right? Like because the concept of Ozempic is to lose weight and become more attractive, but really it was about him not being able to see what everyone else could see. So like Shallow Hal goes through Ozempic blindness essentially.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Hey, bring up if you could Liber Oz. It's so short. You know. So Oz is
And after that one, bring up White Stains if you could.
Right. Don't bring up a copy of White
You want the book itself,
original
I assume,
copy of
not
White
just the
Stains
wiki
with the white stain in it.
Is that true? I guess that makes sense.
You should be able, not picture, you should be able to find just Liber Oz itself.
Oh, you want the book?
It's not a book. It's there it is.
It's like a poem or something, right?
It's every word in it is one syllable, and it's basically like a summarization of Liber L. And so A and L are connected to O and Z as they're opposite each other in the alphabet, if you mirror the alphabet against itself. So, but yeah, I don't know if you can see that. I can't really, it's so small on my screen. But it's basically what your rights are. So it's like, here are the rights of because he's supposed to be a prophet for the coming eon, right? So he's saying man has the right to all these things, but when it is, you have the right to this, to that, and the other thing. But then at the bottom it says anybody who tries to take these rights, you have the right to kill them. I guess we're doing a podcast, so I'm supposed to say unalive. My apologies to the censors, but the idea
just say you have the right to convert them to Islam by force.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know. It feels like if you're going to talk about Oz as it relates, like this is before, yeah.
Non-consensual. That was from now on. Can we just call it non-consensual conversion? That's probably the term for unaliving people.
So you could say like the attack of the non-consensual tomatoes.
Yeah, I like it better already, to be honest. But yeah, so Oz and strength. So the idea of strength, and we're entering a period of strength, is kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, so. I mean, my personal feelings, just as an aside, as far as Ozempic goes, is like I do hear the argument that when you're dealing with people who are having, they've tried everything and they're having huge challenges. I'm not into like I'm for informed consent. You know what I mean? So it's like if people are really informed about what it is that they're doing, they can compensate in the ways that are needed in terms of their own lifestyle and regimen. So if you know that something is going to affect muscle mass and not just your body fat, you have to up your game in terms of working out and everything to whatever degree you're taking this. It needs to have the appropriate compensation and other things. As far as the blindness goes, I don't know how common that statistically really is. I saw that Joe Rogan clip where somebody's describing that. I'd have to dig into it deeper to know for sure.
Thing called strength. They're taking this thing called strength, and that it's like changing them so much, and we're seeing them like look gaunt and everything. Like it's not allowing them to, like, they're consuming themselves. They are consuming themselves.
Well, right? A lot of people are looking to it to just, this is the same problem with like COVID vaccines, right? Is that people are looking for the magic pill. And speaking to what, Anna Nicole is saying about her feelings around drug use in general, and she's saying, is there a hole? You're trying to fill something. I think that, it's important that people ask themselves when they're inviting anything into their bodies, even if it's something that's already there to some degree. Like you could make that argument with adrenochrome. You can make the same argument many have with dimethyltryptamine, that this is something that your body can actually produce, and you have this external equivalent, you're taking it in and all this. But I think that people just need to be informed about the realities of things. It's difficult when there's no long-term studies on something.
When you dream and you hit DMT, it makes sense. Like when you laugh and you experience some euphoria, it makes sense. Like I feel like there's a reason why these hormones are all tied to reward functions. And if we start to mess with them with agonists and suppressants and all these things, then you become weaker to the ability to react to stimuli.
I think it's just like a large part of this is just like, I feel like it's important for people to actually to be real about what something's actually going to provide for them. That's why it's like, I agree. Like you asked an appropriate question, Anna Nicole, about the, what is your motivation for this? Like, and what are your expectations of what this is going to provide from mature people that I personally know who have taken Ozempic or other related, what's the abbreviation? That they can receive some benefit from it, but if to expect that this is going to provide so much more, that there's nothing else you got to do, here's a magic pill, like I feel like people were like that with like, I don't even need to go out in the sunshine. I can live an isolated life, wear a mask, get this shot, and somehow this is going to make me healthy. Like it's just childish. It's an unrealistic relationship to what things are. Like that's why I always like I like to point out why I don't think Bill Gates is a real philanthropist, because if he wanted to treat leprosy in India, he could help cure it with a regimen and facilities to do that. But that's not going to bring him the profit, so he's not going to do that. And so profit is the bigger issue here. And when you have, drug manufacturers that aren't being held liable for, things that are problematic about their drugs, what are we doing?
I'm just saying, like, I feel like Kelly Osbourne, it's not fair that she's British, because like she probably, skinny people don't have to be ugly, but like this is not working for her, and she should just go back to having like a little softness to her face. Am I wrong here? But
is she? How much is she taking?
She's taking a lot.
How is she compensating it?
I only brought it up because of how I thought it related to this whole, this idea of like we're consuming strength, and because Anna Nicole Wordsmith's whole thing this week that I've been noticing, I mean, maybe longer than a week actually, is just talking about Oz. And, there's so much to Wizard of Oz, Jack Ruby slippers, Lee Harvey Oswald, the, fake shooter, the fake crisis actor like Tim Osman, right? Otherwise known as Osama bin Laden, right? There's just so many Oz's in this in this Matrix that seems interesting to me, and it doesn't seem like an accident, especially around that time, the Oz show, right, where you're trapped in a prison, and a big part of it's like trying to free your mind while you're in prison. Some of them becoming Muslims and everything else.
A perceptual prison.
A panopticon in a lot of ways. Yeah, they're being watched the whole time, literally, because it's a show where they're watching them always.
There's actually 4 Jacks involved in the Kennedy assassination on the scene, because the fourth includes the dog. So he's Jack Kennedy, and then there's Jack Ruby, and then there's Jackie Onassis, and there's actually a dog named Jack.
I did a whole thread on Jack, because Jack is like a dead word in this Matrix. It's like a dead name.
Jack is literally like every man. So that's I'm of the view that Jack in The Shining, Jack Nicholson playing Jack, is basically indicating that he's every man. You know what I mean? Because if you're a jack of all trades, like, and Jack and John are the same name in terms of like, what is it, surname? I guess John the surname of Jack? I forget how that works.
I forgot if Jack was James, but maybe you're right. I think it is John.
Yeah, but Jack is also like, it's like related to dead. Like it's a Jack Skellington, Jack Kevorkian. There's Jack in The Shining is kind of like a ghost too. And
Jack Sparrow.
There's like I forget now. I mean, Jack and Jackie, like the dead Kennedys.
It's true. Jack in The Shining is basically already dead. And like Jacob's Ladder, I feel like, took Full Metal Jacket and The Shining and basically made them into one movie. Like, it feels so Kubrick inspired. And keep in mind, Adrian Lyne did the remake of Lolita, so he obviously has quite the Kubrick connection. So I didn't mean to. I mean, I'm glad I did that, but I didn't mean to. I was just trying to. I was trying to show you the
eyes go wide. What's happening?
I should make you. You could be the weather girl for whether or not this is a sync. But the Nephilim were described to have red hair, wide red lips, chameleon-like reptilian skin, known to eat humans, and lizard eyes. And this is a fun one that you'll notice.
Where are they known that?
Second, why is it that clowns constantly have reptilian painted eyes?
Where does it say that? Where is that? The reptile eyes.
I'm just saying, like, when you look at pictures of clowns, they do the slits.
I know, but the claim about the Nephilim, like the giants had what? Like, where is this from?
Oh, I don't know. That was what you wrote.
Is this from the Book of Enoch?
No, this is something you posted. That
it was a retweet, but yeah.
This is big from Paul Staubs, right? Paul Staubs
known from where to eat humans? I know.
Well,
I might know that, and I forgot.
I mean, giants are generally known to be human eaters, right? Like we just watched the Odyssey, and there was like a human eating giant scene.
Right, but specifically the Nephilim that are described in the
cannibalism part does have a clear ancient text basis. I know all the Japanese demons, red-haired demons, are hugely
right. But are we just? I just want to be clear on what this is. What a stickler I am. I'm just like that. Sorry, I'm just like, well, when we say Nephilim, what are we talking about?
Can't find red hair in the Qumran or Enochian texts. Red, white as snow. Enoch describes white as snow and red as a rose.
But in relationship to the Nephilim?
Yeah, the physical description you're remembering is more complicated. First Enoch 106 describes the newborn Noah Okay, Noah. Never mind. Not as Nephilim, but
Yeah.
Noah might be part Nephilim. I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard for me to remember. It's like I transcribed like a bunch of the Book of Enoch from Hebrew many years ago, and like I was like 27 or something. So, and I'm almost 45. So
well, I know that the
it's been a while.
Japanese particularly don't like redheads, or at least they didn't historically, because it meant that someone had bred from another tribe or another ethnicity in with them that was
Right.
blonde, and
Well, David was said to have red hair, and the biblical David was said to have red hair. But
Muhammad, right, too? Isn't he a redhead?
yeah, and green eyes. But there's just I pulled it up also because it's like, you know, fast food and clowns and also just lizards. Like there might be something to this idea because like PepsiCo and Taco Bell with the aborted fetal tissue panic that happened a few years ago, like they're training people to like the flavor or something.
yeah.
Wait, what was the fetal tissue panic that related to Taco Bell?
Oh God, was it Taco Bell, Pepsi, fetal tissue? It was like they were saying someone had claimed
flavor enhancer that was like
someone had claimed that there was a flavor enhancer that was fetal tissue, but it turned out they'd stopped doing that and they'd already started using a synthetic cell line derived from the kidney of aborted fetuses to test and identify artificial flavors.
They found the flavor by sampling the kidney of an aborted fetus, but once they found the flavor, then they synthesized.
See, but that's to me that's a lot like coconut yogurt. You know what I mean? Where you take the probiotics, the yogurt culture, and you feed it something else than milk. It's no longer
the aborted fetus was like a sourdough starter.
It's changed,
like friendship bread.
But maybe not. Maybe it still has those, you know, and you're getting this into your gut, and then your gut is telling you what you want to eat.
In this house, we believe in science,
right?
You want to believe, or you want to consume death, right? Like, isn't that part of it? Is that we are like it's turning us cannibalistic, or?
Dude, what happened? What happened here? Now I'm definitely forcing a full screen. What happened here? What happened?
Wait, no, it's hard to get
way better than Paris Hilton does. Calm down. It could be worse. You could be missing a tongue and all cut up like Paris Hilton did to himself. What happened? What did you see this?
Okay, so yeah, Perez was like he was talking shit on Ariana Grande, and then he had his own mental health crisis, and
what was he saying about Paris Hilton? I mean, what was he saying about Ariana Grande?
He was just talking about her body. He was talking about her like weight loss and how I guess because she was announcing that she was what was it, like stepping back from the stage. And so he like did a public concerned like statement about her, and then when he like not too long after that had his complete meltdown where he was what did he was like cutting himself and bleeding all over the place and just like lost it. Oh my God. I don't remember.
So let's go back through the years for a second, because I remember this is 20 years deep at this point.
And this is what Kelly Osbourne used to look like, you said?
This is what Kelly Osbourne, exactly. She used to look like you with emo hair, basically. No, I'm just kidding. That's a deep blow. You don't actually. You're far more handsome.
Did he take his like Black Eye Club? Is that his?
He did the Black Eye Club. It looks like it would look like that, wouldn't it? It would seem like that's what happened in like 2010 or something. Once he became like the biggest, because at the time TMZ and AOL they weren't doing super big yet, and so he kind of took over that whole gossip column thing, and you know, like his life very quickly changed. But now he's this Ariana Grande Ozempic guy himself. Look at his face. It's completely
he got sepsis from using the Ozempic, didn't he? Isn't that what happened? Like he got some sort of gut infection or something from using the Ozempic, and then that's how he became septic and went into the hospital, and then he had his encounter with God, and then he became like super religious, talking about his faith, and then he totally lost it.
Yeah, you're actually onto something here, which I feel like might be part of our lifetimes. But imagine a form of Ozempic, but instead of you lose weight, or maybe in addition to that side effect, like you get more faith, or like you believe in Jesus just like a little bit more. So now it's like you can lose weight.
Opium, basically. You're talking about opium?
Well, no,
that doesn't help with your gut. You end up not pooping. With the opium, you get this big gut thing, and that's no good.
I think it's like the near-death experience that helps bring people close to God, because there's a lot of people who completely change after they have a near-death.
Well, when you have a near-death experience, which I can say that I've had, you know, it definitely, to say the least, it can put things in perspective. So you know, it's just basically the end of It's a Wonderful Life. I'm like, hello, movie house, you know, which, you know.
You saw it though, right? Like, you guys, did anyone watch the Paris Hilton thing? You saw him talking about the demons inside of him and everything, like he's trying to get him out of himself. Like,
no, I didn't see though. I woke up the next morning, someone texted me, they're like, oh man, I really regret watching the Paris Hilton. And I was like, what? Like, what am I missing? And then I tried to find it and had been like basically scrubbed from, I mean, I think I saw a couple clips of like maybe some tamer sections of it, but I missed it. Did you see it, Andreas?
I mean, I saw part of it. I don't like get off on watching Paris Hilton cut himself up into pieces, but I was really curious about what he was saying and why he was doing it. And I assumed it was like he's trying to get something out of him, right? And that's basically what it was. He's talking about how he's got demons in him. He wants to get them out of him. He can't cut them out. That seemed interesting, right? Like his whole body, like, and a lot of people talk about if you're fat. I went to an Esalen thing once where this lady was talking about fat people are often fat because of two reasons. One, demons existentially using them, so they're using their bodies for feelings and stuff, same as drugs. But the other is like if you're trying to keep people away from your heart or keep people away from your soul, right? And so now he's got this vulnerability. I think a lot of people do, where they're far more vulnerable than they were before. Like if you're fat, you kind of disappear, and sometimes people ignore you, and you can kind of have space, and maybe that keeps people from knowing you. And
everybody's got a demon, man.
That's but how many does
everybody's got?
Have?
Well,
because he seems like he has
like demons. Like it's like like the act of like identifying with thought forms and reacting to them as though they pose like a thought can pose a real threat to you is a terrifying place to be, and most people exist there, which is why when they get, you know, insulted in some way and they contract and they're on the defense, it's as though they have something real is being attacked, but it's like a mind projection. So I would argue that just the act of us putting so much stock in what is ultimately not a place of real strength, like that's how it relates to the Oz thing, right? Is like, what is real strength? That's the question of Oz, and that's why it's the opposite of On, which is idolatry. That like the strength and integrity of the universe and trusting in that, you know, like the natural intelligence is really like, if anything to me is like genuine religion beyond the church, it's that, you know, it's like actually going into oneself and feeling connected to the world and, you know, at large through that internal connection, because you don't really end at your skin, you know, like we're distinct but not separate, you know, like all eyes on this one large organism in a way. But like I don't know, like I don't relate to the demonology stuff the same way. I think like that's like we're immersed in it, and it's just everybody's all, you know, like that's the thing that's kind of terrifying about the Klepo. It almost sounds like, you know, David Icke's whole thing around the reptilians, but it's like, oh, it's just we're all being our perception is all being influenced by these different agencies, you know, and whether that be
into his face though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like he wants to look Mormon, but you can still see the vegan demon inside of those eyes.
He doesn't look anything like those last pictures. So that's what you're saying, is those are old pictures, and this is what he looks like now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I didn't see the video. I mean, I'm not like freaked out about it. I'm just not pulled.
Paris Hilton had recently professed his faith and returned to God. According to Fritz Springmeier, suicide programming functions as an organizational failsafe. It is created through extreme trauma that deliberately fractures the mind into distinct personalities. Alters. Certain alters, otherwise known as deltas, are specifically... I think that one
was supposed to be Omega. I think I got that right. I'm pretty sure I got that wrong.
Well, the Omega programming is like where you full on self-destruct, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like you've seen that a few times, I would imagine, right? Like Lindsay Lohan did that.
This feels applicable enough for me to interrupt with it. Did you see that, like the website of the painter of, remember those kids in the swimming pool that was like a big part of Pizzagate, that all these people had invested in this painter, and they were really like creepy pictures, and they're just
like kids being murdered and drowned.
If you went to that painter's website, they said that they Tavistock, that they had they were involved with Tavistock, and that they had these various altars that were these different personalities, and that's what they were using the art to express, was these different altars of trauma programming. And so like they're very open about it, and I was just like, it was just the weirdest thing, because it's like, this is beyond speculation. Like during the Pizzagate freak out, you know, where it's like you go to look stuff up and it's like, this is their website, like their official website, and this is what they have to say about themselves. And it's just like, that was one of those examples where I was like, oh, surely they're going to address this, and then it's just like, nope, not on any mainstream platform. All they wanted to bring up was that one guy who went into the Comet Pizza and shot the floor with a shotgun, somehow destroying all of their computer history. You know, he shot the hard drive. It's all gone. Oh no, yeah.
I think it was like a IT closet.
It really sounds like that thing from like the Leering Center, where they were just like, somebody broke in and stole all of the documents that would prove our innocence, and you're just like, okay, I hope they find the guy.
Also, you did an episode recently, right? Paranoid American and Anna Nicole Wordsmith. Didn't you guys talk about Cool World, or am I mixing that up?
Yeah.
No, we did.
Yeah. So what was that about? Because I want to recommend people to see it.
Yeah.
I'll let Anna summarize.
Okay. So Paranoid and I had been kind of on a series of like cold themed shows. We had done Frozen 1 together and Frozen 2 together. And we we're like, well, what do we do next? And then Cool World just seemed to like fit in that. And so I felt like I felt like for a long time there's been messages in the Matrix in terms of like Trump always screaming about ICE. And like now, and like when Joe Biden, after COVID, when Joe Biden was always eating the ice cream, and the like now like the AI cooling centers, and kind of how like we went into this weird anime stuff with the Grok sexy companion, which is like almost seems like the sexy cartoon girl. And so yeah, we brought it to like how the movie starts during World War II, which was after the bomb, and how after Japan was bombed, it kind of turned into like this cartoon country of like living anime and like sex fantasies, I guess, like manga. I talked to some young kids, and like it seems like manga is a big part of their like sexual.
Is that a Bakshi movie?
It is,
yeah. Well, he took his name off of
that
it.
way.
He took his name off of it, and Quentin Tarantino ended up finishing the writing for it. But originally Bakshi's plan, like I think you guys talked about, is like a very Enochian thing about like these interdimensional and extra dimensional beings that are not supposed to copulate, and if they do, it creates some sort of nightmarish reality. And it also centers around this guy, Frank Harris, right? And so Frank Harris is returning home from World War II.
Andreas.
Sorry?
There's a whole thread there if you wanted to like click on it.
Oh yeah, cool. Let me pop into that. Let me pull down.
It was
but
like
the original Bakshi was that a human and a cartoon did have sex, and they had like a hybrid child, and the movie was supposed to focus on that child, but instead the version that came out is all about like the tension of whether a human and a cartoon could ever make with each other, and then it just kind of like ... It doesn't actually go into it.
Although I'll just say also manga has existed for centuries, and if you really get into like adult illustrations, like Thomas, we should probably write a book on the history of adult illustrations going back to the Neanderthal, because it's pretty fascinating actually. And I would say it arguably is usually better than modern pornography. And we're getting back to this point with AI where there's less exploitation of individuals in it. But of course, it makes things less real. And that's, I think, the issue too. The spike of power is also the spear of destiny, right? It's Hitler's spear of destiny that killed Christ. And in Sharknado 3, or is it 2? The Eiffel Tower? No, what is that thing called again? The Liberty, what's the thing? You know, this guy
Liberty Needle.
The Liberty Needle, is that what it's called? The freaking obelisk. The obelisk flies off in a hurricane of sharks.
Talking about Washington,
the Washington Monument.
Washington Monument flies off, and it hits the White House. It like the spear of destiny, and it punctures the White House like it's puncturing Christ, which is pretty good.
It's not a technical obelisk because it's not all one piece. You know, it has to be one stone to be a true obelisk. But yeah, sorry,
a hollowed out obelisk. Oh, wait. Before we go to the next panel, because I want her to finish this. Sorry, Nicole, but Frank Harris was a real guy who was a Irish-American editor, novelist, short story writer, comic, cartoonist. And I'm pretty sure that's why Frank Harris is based on Frank Harris, because he's the kind of guy who would have had relationships with Pygmalion animated characters that he had created. He was also pretty friendly with H.G. Wells and George Bernard Shaw, which is pretty interesting.
Interesting. The War of the Worlds.
Right. and the things to come in Time Machine.
So how is Cool World related to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, other than that they both have animation? Is it like the unspoken sequel or no?
I don't think it's an unspoken sequel, but what both of them do, they share this. In my mind, the most interesting part of Who Framed Roger Rabbit is the part where they're trying to search for him, and it's like they describe these like the laws of physics within the cartoon world. One of them is shaving a haircut 2 bits, like every single tune has to finish it, right? The other one that I think is even more interesting is when he gets handcuffed to Eddie, and they're going through all these different trials and tribulations, and then at one point Roger Rabbit just like slips his hand out of the handcuffs and like, you know, does something, and he puts it back in, and Eddie looks at him and he's like, you could have done that at any point, and he's so angry, and he's like, no Eddie, not at any point, only like at the point where it would be like the most funny. And like it makes him mad, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, he's describing an actual law of physics within the cartoon world. Like there's certain things that you're not allowed to do in a cartoon unless it's funny to do it, and you have like their like comedic timing is just as important as gravity in like a cartoon world. I assume like they don't really need gravity, but they need comedic timing.
Oh.
Gravity needs timing in a cartoon.
Well, and in Cool World,
like Coyote, gravity needs timing.
But in Cool World, they're basically describing like, here's these unwritten rules, and if you violate these rules, and in Cool World, the ramification is that this portal opens, and the cartoon world essentially wins over the real world because everyone in the real world starts tuning in the cartoons. But the weird thing is that they don't just turn into a cartoon version of themselves as if they had entered Cool World. When Cool World imposes itself on the physical world, everyone turns into clowns, which was just like this weird anomaly that doesn't necessarily get explained. Like, why clowns? Why not a cartoon version of yourself?
Well, the book from which Who Framed Roger Rabbit came from is actually called Who Censored Roger Rabbit, and it's totally a complete noir. So it's written in a noir style where you're kind of like in the head of the investigator, where he's like, I could tell when she came into my office she was going to be trouble. You know, he's just like he is that guy, and so like it's. Roger Rabbit's a good, fun movie, and it's got all kinds of sinky stuff going on. But part of me just like wants that actual like true noir thing, which is what makes it such a good book. Is just like this like serious treatment of something that is so unserious. So it's got that juxtaposition, and so with Bob Hoskins' character, you can see that it's got an element of that because he gets so frustrated, but it doesn't really carry that true. Like it should have been like my feeling is like I would like to see, like, if you're going to do a remake of a movie, do that and just make it like not like the other one, make it like a super serious noir, but we're dealing with freaking cartoons, you know.
The other thing that I thought was really interesting with not just Roger Rabbit, but in Cool World, that I think I brought up at the end of a video with Anna Nicole Wordsmith, but like, what is it in a human brain that you could actually find an illustration attractive to the point where people go out and buy the weeb pillows and they sleep with their like hentai pillow? And it boils down to this thing called the supernormal stimulus. And the supernormal stimulus, it's the same exact aspect that would cause a bird to abandon its eggs. So there was like the scientific experiment where a bird lays like a blue egg, like a blue spotted egg or something. And the scientists realized that they could just get a brighter shade of blue and just paint like a piece of styrofoam that was like comically not even the right size or the shape or anything, but as long as it looked like a brighter version of itself, they could cause like these birds to abandon their own eggs and go and sit on this piece of styrofoam because like it was just like kind of like game genieing their brain, right? It was like doing this little short circuit workaround, and that's the exact same principle in this supernormal stimulus theory that would make you want to fall in love with like Jessica Rabbit, knowing that it's just a cartoon, that it's just, you know, ink on a paper, but it's triggering something like deep inside the brain that you can't really like ration yourself out of.
You know, the cuckoo clock thing, I was thinking about this a lot because cuckoo birds, they do this. They lay eggs in other birds' nests, and then those birds get so big and they eat everything, the other birds die out, and so they displace other birds. And it's interesting that they use time. Like, time is so important to the cuckoo clock right? Like this idea of an unnatural Babylonian time that's taking over our world and replacing our natural world, right? And then we're so excited by it. We're allowing the cuckoo clock, we're allowing the cuckoo nest into our homes, and then putting them on our wrists to wear them and becoming
right. But the mother in the case of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is actually Nurse Ratched, who's drugging everybody. So like the nest is being drugged rather than, you know, like and he is the cuckoo, right? Like Jack
yeah, he has
in,
to escape a bad nest.
she was 13 going on 30, I swear. I don't, you know, like, yeah, so that's why he's there, is for being with an underage girl.
Well, okay, Nicole, so you were saying City of Sin is the next slide. I got it for you.
It takes place in Las Vegas. Well, that's where he is. And for me, like, I'm very much just like whatever. The Morton salt to me is a huge clue in this matrix, because Mort is about mortality and death. Like the Dead Sea is the salt sea in the Bible. So there's just kind of like a
always associated with luck, you know, that you pour salt over your shoulder and all this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's an alchemical symbol in the you know, trinity of alchemical symbols. So you have sulfur, mercury, and salt. But,
and salt relates to man, right? Isn't man related to salt of the earth?
Well, I mean, when Lot's wife turns to see Sodom and Gomorrah,
well,
and that's like in the desert.
It was used for preservation of meat too. So like that's its meaning in the Sermon on the Mount, when he's like, if your meat not be salted, whatever, you know, like, yeah. Which relates
what's the meaning of Lot's wife turning to a pillar of salt?
I think she's reduced to salt. That's what's left of her after she's vaporized.
Yeah.
All that was left was her salt.
But that's like the only time anyone gets vaporized and described as a pillar of salt in the entire Bible, right? That one time.
Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't remember, but I feel like
anybody turning to salt in the Bible. I think it's just Lot's wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which archaeologists found that her is a pillar of salt. They found her. You know, I think there's a National Geographic.
Whom besides Lot's wife is reduced to a pillar of salt or similar in the Bible. Let's see what it's.
You know that when they filmed The Shining, that was the only movie where the snow was salt. They never wanted to do that again, because everybody just got dried out, and it was super irritating. But the whole Shining ending with them running through the snow, that's all just salt. It's so
really
insane.
Death Valley, Interstate 15, the Devil Card, Sin City. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the wages of sin are death, and like Las Vegas is right between like Death Valley it's Death Valley, right, and like Paradise City.
And the Indian
Paradise is Las Vegas.
The Indian motorcycle and the trauma that opens the portals, right?
Yeah, because that's how he travels through the dimensions, is through trauma. And so I feel like that's why a lot of those rituals, I mean, I don't feel like that's what I've heard, right? That's why a lot of those satanic rituals take place and like involve trauma to the human vessel, because that's what opens people up to like entity attachment or like through here, it's the birth and the trauma that pushes him through to a lower dimension, should be said, right? Because they go from the 3D to 2D when they become cartoons.
Oh, that was another really good point. Yeah, that somehow when you go into like this lower dimension, you literally have 2 dimensions instead of 3 dimensions. So like when people talking about jumping through these different dimensions, maybe those are the different options. Like you can go from 1D to 2D to 3D to 4D. It's not like the new 52 MCU style where like I'm going to go to the Black Spider-Man universe. Like if you do, then you also have to deal with only 2 dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Al Ghul, and the drinking demons, the jinn, all of these spirits associated with alcohol.
Yeah, and the lower dimension is like a more chaos realm, and that's all they're doing the whole time is like getting messed up and like drinking and I guess trying to have sex. I don't know that they can have really like fulfilling sex in the 2D. But
they can have it, but it's not fulfilling, because that's what is it Brad Pitt Is that Frank Harris's Brad Pitt? I always get him mixed up between the artist and Brad Pitt's character. But Brad Pitt's girlfriend keeps saying like, "Oh, is it different in the human world? You know, does it actually feel real? Does it
Is
actually
that Kim
feel like
Basinger?
something?"
Yeah, Kim Basinger.
Wow.
Well, no, not his girl. That Kim Basinger is Hollywood, who's kind of like the bad guy. But Brad Pitt has like his own girlfriend, which is like the brunette, and she's the one that keeps wanting to like go into the real world so that she can be with him in the real world.
Isn't Kim Basinger in Cool World supposed to be Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct?
Looks like her. It's her outfit. I mean, right?
Is dates line up on that?
Definitely share an archetype.
Because I think this is 92.
But I don't think that they're supposed to be the same character because in Basic Instinct, she's like a brilliant writer who knows how to get away with a murder. And in this movie, she's just a very curious girl who doesn't care about the consequences of her actions. And she just so desperately wants to be real. So there's this sort of Kubrickian Pinocchio complex here where doesn't understand the consequences of it. But the idea of being real is so alluring. They're willing to destroy.
Oh, what was the murder weapon in Basic Instinct?
The ice pick? Is there an ice pick?
Ice pick.
Oh, cool.
Cool. Link, yeah.
Cool.
Wait, I forget. Where's the ice pick in Cool World? Oh, ice and Cool. Okay,
cool.
I'm back now. Okay. Deebs is a prison within a prison.
Every time they showed Deebs, I don't know what it meant, but like every time they showed him in his house, like even after he got out of prison, he just always had like the shadow bars around him.
The
real world is
thing
prison.
too. So Jessica Rabbit wears the red dress. She wears the white dress, right? Rose white, rose red. But the thing that there was that thing with Jessica Rabbit when she gets in that accident in Toontown and she like spins out, and if you freeze frame it, you can catch a shot of her with her legs open. There's they illustrated that. Anatomically correct. And then what is like the most iconic thing in Basic Instinct in terms of a visual shot at the time?
Oh yeah.
When you got Dennis Nerdy, you got Newman is sitting across from her. He's all sweating. He's like patting his head, and she's wearing that white dress, and she like changes her legs over, like switches her leg which way her legs are crossed, and it's like and all the guys like go and it's like it's Jessica Rabbit who strange attracted this lady here.
I have a conspiracy, Disney conspiracy theory that I do legitimately think is true, and that's that they retroactively added that scene that you're talking about where Jessica Rabbit gets thrown out of the car. They added that after the movie was already done in order to take it back out to have this deleted footage so that later they could release like the uncensored.
No, they already took out. I remember when I saw it in the theater, they took out a bunch of footage when it came out on video.
But I'm saying
the video version of Roger Rabbit was not what I saw in the theater.
Dude, I'm saying the reason that scene even exists was so that they could take it out, so that there could be like the original uncut version of it.
It's the original. The original.
I don't think they were thinking like that.
Isn't the version that I saw in the theater. I have yet to see that again. The baby who's smoking a cigar, he said a bunch of shit that was just not in the.
That's absolutely true. Yeah.
So I mean,
I remember. Yeah.
I feel like what it was not as hard as that. It's that Eisner was upset at the Disney Animation Studio. He was going to move them all to another building to completely destroy the continuity. And then while they were assuming that any animation they would get to do it, he's like, I better find other people to show them I can hire other people like Ford Managerial Theory. He found a guy who was famous for doing commercials for like Bank of America, right? So they took those two together and then they created a movie that was not exactly what Disney would distribute. And so then Disney had to cut things out of it, but it was originally not even supposed to be distributed by Disney. He was probably, Eisner told him, just make the movie you want to make because it's going to be a Touchstone film. We're not sure if we're keeping the Disney name. They were in the process of saying Disney might just be a subsidiary of this bigger Western media company that they were building. Right. So I don't know. I think that things changed when they realized like the biggest thing they had going for them was, as a child, you get addicted to a thing, and then you own that child with media for the rest of their life. And so they decided to keep Disney that way. But it could have just been like Splash and Touchstone was the future at that time.
Right. But you remember like the end of Pretty Woman was totally done like a Disney movie. because Touchstone was owned by Disney. I don't know. I say because, like, correlation, causation, but it sure looked like that to me. Like, that was like the whole thing was she's being saved like a damsel in distress by the prince. You know, when he goes up the ladder with the flowers. You know, it's just like he's like, I'm, you know, gonna save you from this tower. You know.
Yeah, but there wasn't necessarily like a future for it being only Disney at the time. Sorry, I keep doing that. It's just they move the buttons around. I swear it's not on purpose. Jack Deebs as Jack Parsons. What do you think? Why?
So
he was like summoning. He was summoning Hollywood, kind of like Parsons was summoning Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like Hollywood like took on like the Babylon archetype, I guess. Like
he was also in Babel too. Brad Pitt was in Babel and Babylon.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that he was in Babylon. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So they like they show Hollywood kind of like riding a beast at the end when all hell breaks loose after she meets at the Union Hotel and does the spike of power thing. And so I don't know. That's just kind of she was being, what is that called? Like he was channeling her. So many, I don't know. I can't remember.
Upon becoming human, Hollywood adopts a schoolgirl appearance reminiscent to anime and cosplay culture, transformation symbolizing the fantasy and desire to take physical form. The Enochian Genesis 6, right?
Yeah, they cross the boundary, like in the Bible or whatever, or the Book of Enoch.
Yeah, it's Apocrypha. Book of Enoch should be in the Bible, in my opinion. A lot of books should, both Old and New Testament, should have other books included. I don't know what the rationale is for not having the Book of Enoch included in the canon. Otherwise, is their books just going to be too heavy? I don't know.
I think the rationale for having a canon is pretty irrational, to be fair.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, like, Cool World's pretty good. Are you guys going to do another one soon? Do you have a plan for the next video you guys want to break down?
We don't have a date or a video yet, but I'm sure we're going to do another one.
Yeah.
Should be Sharknado.
Should it be like Fire and Ice? Just
I really want Sharknado 2 to be broken down by Nicole because, like, I'm wrestling with all of the symbols. I see them there. I see like Gremlins and Star Trek and Oz, and like I see all these and then it's like the whole point of Airplane is that it's a joke about the thing, so you don't take it seriously because it's very serious. I think there's just, I mean, like the fact that Al Roker and Matt Lauer, there's like this fake news aspect to it that's happening with the mayor, with the Pizzagate, Podesta, and Wiener. It's like there's
something else happening. Paramount is acquiring Warner Brothers. Yeah. And so I just saw like Spencer Pratt the other day had like a video 16 minutes long or something where he's just ripping into Gavin Newsom and all these folks that are opposing this merger, and he's giving an argument why he believes that this is overreach, government overreach to try and stop this from happening. But I was just trying to like look at it kind of like just as objectively as possible, just on a symbolic level, and just think about Warner Brothers and Paramount. We're talking about the Book of Enoch. There's a ridiculously strong argument that whole thing with the mountain and why they chose that mountain and everything for this Paramount logo with the stars and how many stars, that actually relates to the fallen stars in the Book of Enoch, where I wouldn't do it all justice, but I've seen the argument made, and like I've transcribed. You
know what that mountain is in real life, right? It's the Ben Lomond Mountain in Utah. It's a Mormon Paramount.
Right. Yeah, there's a religious connotation there, and like, yeah, and it's also the way that they do it now, where it's not just the old logo. They have the stars are falling, and then they skirt across this water before they form the arch around the mountain. And so like there's this crazy strong argument for like that being a reference to the fallen ones in the Book of Enoch. But I mean, I don't know in absolute terms. So I'm just saying, like, I look at that, and then it's like, what Warner Brothers, like, you know, Kubrick went from MGM to Warner Brothers. The official story was because they turned down Napoleon based on money. I can't find anything substantiating that, and I don't even know if Kubrick himself ever actually said that, because I can't find an example of him explicitly saying this is the reason. I can't find any documentation that his rationale for cutting ties. He said how much Napoleon would cost him. It was actually much lower than what Dino De Laurentiis ended up spending for Waterloo, which came out shortly after. It's just like all this stuff. But yeah, no, I mean, we were just talking last week about Gremlins the whole time, you know, and it's like, that's Warner Brothers, you know, like Warner Brothers. And I think the argument was, you know, that from Gavin Newsom, he's like, these companies have been in intense competition, and he's kind of pushing that narrative, and it's not necessarily true. Warner Brothers was distributing Paramount Films, like they've coexisted. It's not as intense of a competition as he's saying. Like they're both getting there. I think
though there is a concern that, like, you know, the media monopoly system is becoming so weak because of AI and all these other options that people have, that you could make your own media, social media, that they're becoming a singularity. And that might not be a monopoly per se, but it's definitely a singularity where they're all working together, becoming this one tight-knit little industry that's not really competitive, that has the same issues as in, you know, what's it called, where two companies are in an industry and they work to keep prices.
Price fixing.
Yeah, there's a good word for that. Non-competitive manipulation.
Yeah.
Forget the term. There's a legal term. And you're not allowed to do it. If two companies are working to fix prices, then they're doing anti-competitive practices, right? And so then that's almost worse than a monopoly. And we're seeing this right now. There was already a major case with solid state memory after the Fukushima with major companies like SanDisk, and with Samsung, the United States SEC knocked them down for fixing prices, and then they're doing it again now with RAM, with random access memory. And India,
this happened with eggs recently too. The egg market was like exposed of doing price fixing.
Oh yeah,
everything's price fixing at this point, and that's the concern with not having competition, because competition is the only thing that might keep something like that from happening, where another company says, well, we've tried everything else, we might as well try having a better product for, you know, a more affordable price. That's the only solution. If we don't have that, as you know, every other option is kept until that happens, unfortunately.
Right. But I mean, for me, like my feeling is like most of the time that I'm go to watch a movie that say it's like it's got 20 30 different production companies, most of which you've never heard of before a movie. Like frequently that movie tends to be really good, because there's like if it's like 2 production companies you never heard of, it's like this is not any absolute rule by any measure, but there's some general phenomenon that I've seen where it's like, dude, like when you got so much money going into a movie, but it's coming from all these different independent sources, they're working around. They have a lot backing them, but they're not dependent upon the influence of the big production companies, so they can make what is more like a real independent film. Remember, independent film used to mean something very different than it ended up meaning just like a few short years after. I equate it with like organic, really, like to have an organic food you had all these intense requirements, and then it was just like everyone's like, oh, this is a racket, man, we can make so much money just by calling it organic, so they lowered all of these standards. I feel like the same thing happened with independent film, whereas we
talked about this at one point a couple of weeks ago. I was like, what's your favorite independent film? And I said Star Wars Episode 1 or 2, right? Because it's a non-SAG production, independently financed, and yeah, it's $300 million.
So you're saying 20th Century Fox was just a distributor?
They were the distributor. They did not have final call on anything.
Right.
And like he shot this thing in other countries to avoid using the Screen Actors Guild, because when he made Empire or Return of the Jedi, they fined him for not having credits at the beginning of the movie. He didn't want to do it because of his artistic vision.
Right.
And they fined him, so he quit SAG. So really anything Lucas has done since he quit SAG is technically an independent film. It's independent of the Screen Actors Guild.
Well,
I mean, sure, it's hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, we're getting ready for the SAG joke. What is it?
Like a no budget movie is different.
What's the SAG joke? Come on, where are we going?
Please.
No? Well, I was gonna have a SAG joke. I was gonna say that that wouldn't include. You said everything that Lucas has done since, but not Strange Magic, which I believe is now a Disney movie retroactively.
Disney paid, but you know what? Arguably, even that because he made the movie the way he wanted to. Disney just had to pay for everything.
Yeah, no, you're
But
right.
yeah,
And it
you're
was
Bill
totally
Hand's
right.
Murders or something like that. I know he
I'd
didn't
still
direct
give you that
anything
one.
other
That's
than A New
fine.
Hope, but except for the movies before A New Hope. But A New Hope was
Well,
his
yeah.
last. Oh, except for some episodes of Young Indiana Jones. Is that correct?
I would say Young Indiana Jones are also technically independent films because they're all
Right,
shot.
but I was just making the point to George Lucas directing movies. He
Totally
stopped
directed
directing.
those. That was what saved his life. If he after his divorce, and he was like worried about his life, and he's getting old, having a midlife crisis, and he's thinking like, man, if only I could have lived my life differently. I think he had a conversation with Bob Zemeckis. I forget how it goes, but something between him and Spielberg and several people was like, oh yeah, you could just make a movie about what you would have done differently. And he's like, oh, I can make a series about myself doing all the things I would have done if I could have been. And it's this liberating, Liber Oz kind of experience is the Young Indiana Jones film. It's everything you ever want to do, anywhere you ever wanted to go, all the conversations he didn't get to have with his father that said that I understood where you were coming from, all of that. Only because of that would he say, yeah, you know what? I think I could remake Star Wars. Let's do it.
They totally could have done a Crowley Young Indiana Jones, but they did a Krishnamurti.
They did,
which is pretty cool. But they could have done a Crowley one in
one.
Cairo with Rose. What's her name?
There's still a chance. We could AI that. It's worth happening probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, is there any more things that you think that we should like share that you've been? Because like I always feel like we don't get enough of the real sync posts, and like Anna Nicole Words was like, dude, I'm right here. I'm syncing all week. I got all the syncs you'd ever want, all synchronized.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of like went through the week of I liked that one. Did you see how that like the new flu vaccine is called Fluciva, which is like a name for Shiva, and Shiva the Destroyer is like known for the dance of Shiva. And during COVID, how we had all of these like doctors in their blue medical garb, or not, maybe more nurses, maybe not doctors, but like doing all the dances that we saw them like.
Didn't they just shut down HARP? And it'll come back in like a few years.
You mean CERN or HARP?
Yeah.
Oh, I said HARP. I meant CERN.
No, I don't think CERN shut down, but HARP is
allegedly. No. HARP. No, CERN.
CERN shut down. Well, one of the CERN, because there's multiple CERNs, right?
Okay. Yeah, the old LHC is going to be a long shutdown. I think they're going to reopen it in 2030 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, scheduled to begin operations in 2030.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's freaking out about like Agenda 2030, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, they always do that. Then it was Agenda 25, Agenda, Yeah.
Well, you have to have Agenda 2076, I think.
Agenda 365. I don't know.
Freemasons are in it for the long haul. Yeah, Copilot. That's also a Masonic conspiracy.
But people, the conspiracy world is kind of freaking out right now, because it's just like for them to shut that down, man. You can see what happened with our timeline as soon as they turn that thing on. Now it's just like, oh, we're left to our own again. This is the natural world. So, but then in 2030, it's going to come
Isn't it weird that they waited until retrograde ended to shut it down?
Yeah, that's why they did it. Actually, they were like, oh man, this is just going too far. We got Demogorgon coming in through the thing. It's just more and more of them. They're just like, okay, we'll address this later.
Well, so people talk about this idea of the Horizon Punkt or the Phoenix event, right? And not in Phoenix, Arizona, but Singularity, the Phoenix event of the Singularity. And it could be that we're very close to that could be somewhere in 2030 or 2040, 2035, something like that. But if we're hitting a point where we've talked about this a few times, that something can manipulate the same material that's always existed and rearrange it however it wants to, not just based on how stars are radiating and moving matter around, that we could move it around however we wanted to. You could move it back to the way a star had arranged it in the past, or the way it would be arranged by a star in the future. And that cycle is that clock of radiation that's causing change, right? So if we're able to control change, or if something can control change outside of time, that's the end of history. And that's totally what the Mayan calendar really is saying. It's not saying it's the end of the world. It's not saying it's the end of anything other than linear time, that something outside of linear time starts to emerge at that point and can manipulate time. But something like that would probably be, and I'm not just saying this because of the Disney show Loki, but a time variance authority would emerge. Something would try to keep the timelines they'd prune potential multiverse timelines.
You could have said Time Cop too.
Time Cop would be better, but I didn't want to. I mean, how many people remember Time Cop and Trancers besides you?
What about Scanner Cop?
Scanner Cop's good.
I like Trancers. To Scanners.
Trancers is like real life. Have you seen Trancers? Right? It's like 10 movies with Helen Hunt, but it's about a guy who travels through time from like basically the Demolition Man period where you can't have sex anymore and everything sucks by traveling back into his grandchildren. Very Quantum Leap. I almost think this came out before Quantum Leap. I forget for sure, but for real, Trancers is happening. And then there are these like Matrix agents that take over bodies in Trancers. Everything happened in Trancers first. It's too real.
Andreas, if I'm going to watch a movie this week, I was almost going to watch Gremlins 2, but I got sidetracked. I watched that movie Obsession yesterday. That was really good. I want to do a deep dive on it. But do you want me to do Gremlins or do you want me to do Sharknado?
So I would say either do Gremlins 2 or Sharknado 2. Probably Gremlins 2 because that would be worth it. But Sharknado 2, for me, like I would want you to see Gremlins 2 for you. I would want you to see Sharknado 2 for me because I want to hear what you have to say about it because I'm still trying to pick it together. But I mean, I think it's really big and important. Like it's just so crazy. And you might like it even more, but I think they're really important. Like Gremlins 2 is so insane. But basically the point of this is that any movie that was kind of weird and cheap is a guaranteed sell for the sequel. So the sequels are always bigger, weirder, and better than a bad first movie. Gremlins is like an okay movie. Gremlins 2 is a masterpiece. Sharknado 1 is like an okay movie. Sharknado 2 is freaking Kubrickian. You know?
Gremlins is different than Gremlins 2. They're different types of movies for the most part. And like, yeah, Gremlins 2 kicks. I don't know. I like the Gremlins and Gremlins 1 more than the Gremlins and Gremlins 2. Just like on a special effects.
Like I'll do the same thing with Short Circuit. Short Circuit 2, I love it more than Short Circuit 1. But if I really am forced to think about it, maybe Short Circuit 1 is playing it safe, but it might be better in certain ways because of that.
Is it a better movie? Yeah, but I don't know, man. I like Backrooms. I thought Backrooms was pretty damn good.
Backrooms reminded me of when I first moved into Tim's house, and it was just empty like that, and there was just a bunch of random stuff he'd bought from every house he'd ever lived in before, filling random rooms that was all like jumbled. It was in these huge long halls. Gesundheit.
Thanks.
Yeah, Backrooms is good. Obsession's really good because men need to know they do that.
I just want to say that did you notice that in Obsession when the whole thing with the whistling willow and then there's Willow as a magic wand and then there's weapons and that this breaking of the stick, I'm sure you probably put all that together, but yeah, there's crazy crossover between weapons and Obsession and Willow.
Yeah. I want to do like a full on like thread. I want to do a whole thread on it.
That's a good comment. So he said Johnny 5 deserved an Oscar for Short Circuit 2. That's true.
He did. He honestly deserved citizenship. I'll go further. Like the whole movie's about what he deserved. But
that is how it ends. Is he got citizenship, right? The robot gets citizenship
in New York City. I mean, which is I would say maybe you need to watch Gremlins 2, Short Circuit 2, and then Sharknado 2. 2 for 2 for 2. It's like the perfect breakfast. All right. MK Ultrasound 723. Make sure you're checking out the Sync films. David's got a whole bunch of films that we just watched like 4 or 5 last week. Definitely Hollywood with Marilyn Manson in the first half of Holy Mountain. Really good. Mitchell and the Machines, I always push that you need to see this if you haven't because it's crazy. It talks about the singularity and AI and it's for kids. It's a great one. And then Black Swan. Would you recommend one, David?
I would recommend that people either at my highlights or on the website, just kind of like website makes it a little easier maybe, but just for a visual, but like just if you're familiar with a movie and you're familiar with an album, usually like it, because you know, a lot of this stuff is like, I mean, everything will sync with everything to some degree. I'm just interested in, I'm fascinated with when it crosses a certain line. So if something is familiar to you and you know the lyrics of something and you know the dialogue of a movie, sometimes those are more enjoyable, you know. And then interspersed throughout, there's ones here that are like they got the volume up between the vocals, and sometimes, you know, it just flows that way, and sometimes they're silent. It depends on artistically what what feels best. But I would just say if you scroll through and you see something that really jumps out at you, like, oh, I really like, I know that movie well, or I know that album well, you know.
This is a fun one. Nehedar with Saint Maud, I would say, is kind of interesting. Light Your Own Damn Candle. She does really good music, and there's like at least 3 or 4 really solid syncs. We just did one that's not up yet, where it's the 1970s Super Sentai Power Rangers movie with Nehedar, and it's like constantly about the ocean and stuff.
The album was called High Tide, and so there's a water theme. But the sync itself with that one is Jeff Who Lives at Home, which is a movie that's completely centered around water. And then once you pick up on it, you'll notice like everything, because it starts with that it's a play on signs, where the character of Jeff is reacting to, like, he's just seen signs for the umpteenth time, and he's just like, every time I watch it I see more. And he identifies with the little girl who was put the water all over the space. You know, she'd have like glasses of water like all over, and then it ended up being like there was a sink, and that was actually what killed the aliens, which is kind of cheesy. But Jeff Who Lives at Home like takes that and goes somewhere else with it that's more speaking to synchronicity and stuff.
This is cool. Really good. This is the sync I am recommending this week. Watch Jeff Who Lives at Home with Nehedar High Tide. This is I saw this one last week, and it's super good. I hadn't actually even watched Jeff Who Lives at Home yet. You don't need to watch it without the sync, because it syncs better, and it has enough of the story, and there's bits of audio that are still in there. You get what's going on, and it's actually more interesting this way, because the movie feels like it's designed for non-sync heads to know a sync head. They're like, oh, anyone in your family is sync head? No, this sync is re-edited for sync heads to watch movies about families who aren't sync heads. This is our version. I would highly recommend watching it.
That was
super
awesome.
good. Yeah, and actually, like, some people rate movies by like Emmys or raspberries. I do onions. Like, there's at least 3 good onions, like where you cut an onion and you cry. There's at least 3 decent ones in this movie.
Yeah, and Jeff Who Lives at Home is like, there's not as many movies that are like so explicitly about sync. There's I Heart Huckabees, you know, but yeah.
This guy's obsessed with synchronicity. He gets a call for the wrong number, and they're asking him if this guy's home, and he's like, no, that guy is not here. Do I need to go find him? And like his whole sync trip. It's so good.
Yeah. Right. There's things that if you don't know signs, though, it's not quite the same, because like people won't get the context for things. So like, for example, the guy who called him is named Kevin, and he's playing with like anagrams on a piece of paper, like and he's like knife, and then he like takes his kitchen knife and looks at it, and there's like a reflection. But the thing is, like, if you know signs, it was a kitchen knife that looked exactly the same that he used to go underneath the door to see the reflection of the alien. So it's like, he's obsessed with, so you know that this character. So, but if you didn't know signs, you're just like, oh, this guy's dangerous. He's like, oh, what does this mean? Does it mean a knife? Am I supposed to do something with this knife? Which kind of brings up that argument from Dr. Kirby's Surprise in the sync book, where he was like describing at which point, if you're a psychiatrist or a psychologist, should you be concerned when somebody's obsessed with synchronicity or talking about synchronicity? Are they a threat to themselves and others? Do they feel like they need to do something based on the synchronicity? And if so, what exactly, and how much are they personalizing it, and how objective is it, and all these kind of things. So at the beginning of Jeff Who Lives at Home, there's like a moment where you're just like, is this even a comedy? Like, what's he going to do with that knife, you know? So,
right. Yeah. And Paranoid American, the most important and greatest publisher of Paranoid American conspiracy comic books in the world, but particularly #1 in America.
I got some big ones. I actually just got back from the Bohemian Grove. I got back from the Bohemian Grove event from Nephilim Death Squad. So I'm going to have a brand new sampler pack put together. And then I've also got a brand new Paranoid playset, which is the beginning of my Bigfoot cryptid series. So it's like a podcaster Bigfoot. I'll show it off next week. I'll have them on the website and everything. I also just want to point out that if you want to get a much cooler, deeper dive on Cool World, you should go and check out the Cartoon Cabal podcast that I do with Matt Comegys, which is my co-host on Occult Disney. And come and check out that episode with Anna Nicole Wordsmith, plus Frozen and Frozen 2. Honestly, all 3 of those should be required viewing if you like synchronicity.
Yeah.
Trying to find you.
just do Cartoon Cabal. I think it's there you go. We kicked off Cartoon Cabal by watching the entire series of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and since then we've ventured into basically anything that's not Disney.
I'd like to do a thing. We did a thing together on Treasure Planet, right, with Matt at some point.
That was an Occult Disney one, and that's where we linked Treasure Planet to basically being about, of course, since you were on there, about Joseph Smith and Mormons in space and neophytes.
I mean, Don Bluth, but yeah, let's do another one soon. I want to think about some good Cartoon Cabal stuff. Thundercats, obviously, I've been thinking about a lot. David and I watched the first episode with Amelia just to talk about the whole Oedipus complex that happens in Thundercats and its relationship to the Jewish people in Exodus.
Andreas is working on a musical about Thundercats, and I got to contribute a portion of Snarf.
Oh my God! Should we let them? Do they get to? Should we play a piece of it? Or is that too much? It's too late. Next time. Okay. It'll just open with it. If you're here next time, you get to hear the Snarf. Yeah, and so make sure you also follow Nicole Wordsmith, the most legitimate synchronist here. She's like the actual apples ingredient in the Apple Jacks at this point. But I think we did a pretty good, solid review of sync, and let's do something soon. I love it when you have these deep dives and we can go through them. We have a really good episode together that you did, kind of talking about death and everything. We should do more of these where you're just doing presentations and we interrupt you less. I like those.
Yeah, I like the presentation format too. It's easier for me because I communicate better through pictures than I do verbally, as you can tell. So yeah, those are good. Want to have people.
I think you're all right. We just interrupt a lot. See, I just did it now. But yeah. But follow Miss Nico6 and Nicole Wordsmith on X. And yeah, see you guys next time. Thank you for being here. It was a lot of fun. Love you all.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.